is not the end, she says. She's drenched in blood. You laugh and say, good God, are you crazy? We've got enough. What's wrong with my broken glass in your ears? But against all odds it starts to make sense, and you feel selfish and now together think of everything we could be. We could be friends. Living up someone else's life when we didn't choose. There's a funny way of changing what's meant for you. And if we can move on, we'll all a little walk down all these things we could be. She says, not too much. You gotta keep her head in the game right now when you lose that crush. And if we can learn from what we messed up last time, we'll know we could be.
Deep within the grounds of Birmingham, Alabama is where the area Lodgebox series visits tonight. Welcome all to Talladega. Built on top of former Air Force Base Anniston, this 2.66 mile racetrack has been a wild one. Some saying cursed, being built on top of a potential Indian burial ground of days gone by. A lot of weird things have happened at Daytona or at Talladega. Excuse me, I'm already off to a great start. But nonetheless, speeds over 200 miles per hour will be seen tonight among 27 drivers currently set to roll off for qualifying in just a few minutes. I'm Eric Wineland saying welcome to the Lodgebox Series race number 10. 10 of the regular season. Just 3 races remaining, including tonight, before we have our playoff grid set. I'm welcomed in the booth tonight by the one and only Jacob Bell, your owner, founder, overall administrator of the area iRacing leagues, and of course, my wonderful co-host.
How you doing, Eric, man? It's good to be back in Talladega for the 3rd night in a row. We had an awesome race last night, an awesome race Monday night, so I'm sure that tonight is going to bring a lot of the same, a lot of high-speed racing, 3 wide, 4 wide even. We saw quite a bit last night, and I think we got enough talented drivers in here tonight to make it all work for 84 laps.
Absolutely. I will clue you in on a secret that I bought a special candy bar on my lunch period today at Sheetz for tonight. Something called a Take 5, which I'm absolutely expecting to see 5 wide at some point tonight. Let's be honest about it.
There we go.
Because there's just so much room here at Talladega. And on top of that, something that we'll talk about quite a bit tonight, Jacob, is no yellow line rule in the area iRacing leagues.
No, and it's came into a factor to the finish of the last 2 nights of racing. Monday night, obviously, Caleb Steimer, the big beneficiary of that rule, right? He was able to get that huge run coming out of turn 4 and make his move coming to the start-finish line on Travis Beckner by doing so, by going below that below that yellow line on the bottom side of the racetrack and making it work to his advantage. Last night, got a little dicey there at the end. It almost came into a bigger role than it was, but we'll see if that plays on tonight. We saw it in the Area 500 back in October as well, so definitely a theme to keep our eye on, and we got 84 laps tonight to try to figure out who's going to be the one out front at the end.
Hey, don't sell yourself short, Jacob. I definitely saw a block thrown by the driver of the number 77 truck yesterday, blocking Garrett Grant, who went to the apron coming through the tri-oval to the checkered flag, and that block proved to be the seal for Ryan Swann to snag his first victory in the Northern Capital Truck Series last night. If you haven't seen the past 2 nights, be sure to check out the recent broadcasts here on the Area iRacing Twitch channel. Absolutely insane finishes, including, I believe, the second closest finish in Area iRacing history in the Swift Lifestyles Pro Series on Monday in the ARCA cars. So I don't think they'll top
who the closest finish was, right?
I don't think they'll top my closest finish back at Auto Club.
No.
But they certainly got pretty close. And what a wild 2 nights it's been. We're hoping for a little bit more of that action here tonight. Just over 6 minutes remaining in practice. We'll go ahead and give you some race info here at Talladega. As Jacob already highlighted, 84 laps on the cards tonight for these Xfinity drivers. LottiesTravelsWorld.com weather for the Bama Bash 223. Partly cloudy skies. Nice, warm, 81 degrees here in an in-sim date of January 5th, 2022. Happy New Year to all. Track temperature rose a bit to 87 degrees with all these cars out here right now, especially being all over the racetrack. We've seen 3 wide all through practice so far. Humidity pretty low, so it really won't be a factor today. And winds from the northeast at about 8 to 9 miles per hour right now. That will come into effect, I would say, Jacob, during qualifying. You got to time it just right to make sure you get as much of help from that wind as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last 2 nights we've seen it where almost half the field has not gone out to make a qualifying lap. They just elected to start in the back. Everybody's going to start the race tonight. So we'll see if that strategy comes into play as well. It was kind of an interesting start to the race last night. It seemed like a lot of people were just kind of toying around with the front of the pack and not really, necessarily committing to trying to lead the rest of the race. They were just kind of practicing to see what they could do. I know Cameron Hearn was one of the guys who would run all the way to the front, push somebody up there, then drop right back to the back and do it again. So we'll see how the first few laps play out tonight. But I agree with you, Eric. I think qualifying is going to be interesting to see who can time it the best. I've seen different strategies as well. A lot of times you would consider a plate track, and I think you might have a little bit better of an idea of this. So I want to kind of pose the question to you. But I've seen some different strategies where it's not actually the strategy to use the top lane on that first lap and then use the bottom. I've seen a lot of people starting to use the bottom on both laps, and it actually proving to be quicker.
I can't speak to the nature of what I know in that regard, as we see a massive wreck right here.
Holy.
In practice. Just one wrong move, and that's all it's going to take tonight, is one wrong move in amongst these Xfinity cars to cause a lot of mayhem. I will not comment further on qualifying strategies, as I really don't know that much myself on them anymore. Used to be that you run the first lap on the top side to wind it up as much as you could, and then the second lap on the bottom, shortest way around the track. But things have changed a little bit in the service. We saw Brad Slaughter, I believe, do one lap yesterday, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think he sat it on pole.
I believe he did, yeah, because we saw him go to victory lane at Daytona, and then we come right back to Talladega, and he ended up winning the pole last night.
So something we'll keep our eye on here. One more thing we're keeping our eye on is the playoff picture. Now, we've documented all throughout the season how Cameron Hearn tore through the regular season, already amassing 5 wins at very vastly different tracks: Homestead, Auto Club, Las Vegas, Dover, that 4-in-a-row stretch, and then picking up another one 2 weeks ago, or not 2 weeks, but 2 races ago at Darlington. Most recent winner, David Weishart, coming off a Pocono victory 2 weeks ago. Then we also have Chris, who was the last winner at a super speedway back in Daytona, the first race of the season. Chris Seidenfaden there. And also Alan Elwood, who locked himself in with a win at Daytona Road. A lot of guys right on the bubble, Jacob, but they got a little work to do.
Yeah, and when you look at Rick Christensen, he's not in the field tonight. He's that first guy out. So really, all eyes kind of point to Andrew Player, 21 points behind Ricky Springer for that final 12th spot. And it'll be interesting, because another situation we had coming into tonight was Connor Oprezek, who's got a victory, but he's outside the top 20. I believe we've had some other guys score a victory, and they're just not playoff eligible. So the playoff field can change a lot from tonight based off who goes to victory lane. Obviously, it's a good opportunity to lock yourself in, and it's a great racetrack to try to take advantage of that.
Absolutely. Some in-car shots we'll be bringing you tonight, provided by One to Go Studios. Andrew Player with that sweet VR look. You get to see exactly where his head is. Hopefully it's not going to be upside down at all tonight. Yeah. I'm sure that would be pretty disorienting in VR. I just can't even imagine. Have you ever taken a VR headset for a spin there, Jacob?
You know, I've used the VR headset, but not for iRacing. So I did it probably about 2 or 3 years ago, and it wasn't for my liking. So I didn't really pick up too much on it. As you see, we got the 54 still in the fence in turn 3. So practice is coming to a close, and we're gonna have to get him down. He actually just reset, it looked like, but yeah, no, the VR headset not really too much to my liking, but it's definitely pretty cool to see the drivers that are able to use it. And you can really look around your race car like it was, like you're actually inside the cockpit. So I believe there are some benefits to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to take my neighbor's VR headset for a spin, sat in a recliner, and tried to ride a roller coaster. Oh my goodness, was I not prepared for that event. I will say I usually am pretty good at holding my lunch, but man, that motion sickness feeling you get, especially being your first time, was quite a rush.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was referring to there. Why it wasn't really for my liking.
Well, the VR headsets. I was VR, and I'm back to triples. But a fan actually will help with that. It's kind of gives you the illusion that you're moving when you put the fan on you, and it takes away a lot of that motion sickness.
I didn't think about that, but that is actually pretty smart.
And and that's what I used with my Samsung. And as a driver of what Lemons used to call the 24-hour Lemons, so it was meat space driver versus cyberspace. I said that running the VR headset actually is going to get you the closest to being in the game. Actually, I think the triples allows more information, because you lose the information, all the little black boxes that we're used to as drivers, and because the text quality goes away. You rely more on your ears and stuff, and not being able to see the relative screen as easily as you would in any other thing. So
Very interesting. That's Harold Darner, ladies and gentlemen. I actually, forgive me, Harold, I forgot to introduce that you are producing tonight's broadcast with One to Go Studios here on the Area iRacing Twitch channel. We absolutely thank you all the time, and I can't thank you enough for the pictures that you're able to bring the audience here on Area iRacing.
Yep. Yeah, you know, no big deal. And they said, guys, I'll let you guys do most of the talking tonight. I'm still a little bit under the weather, you know, crud from Christmas. So.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone getting over the holiday sickness, or just getting into it. Hopefully you get through it pretty quick. We hope you all enjoyed your Christmas, your New Year's. Hopefully you guys had a happy one, a safe one, a healthy one, enjoying time with family, or running it solo. Regardless, we absolutely are happy to have you with us here at virtual Talladega. Get to see our qualifying underway. 10 minutes for these drivers to complete a maximum of 2 laps. As Jacob Bell alluded, there may be some guys that only want to turn 1 lap for this qualifying session, but we'll get a chance to ride on board with Andrew Player. Jacob Bell, take me through this first driver here. How does he manage to get a good qualifying lap in?
Well, like we talked about, there's a lot of differing strategies, it seems like, coming to qualifying this week, but it looks like Andrew Player here in the number 13 is going to elect to use the top on his first lap. I believe it's still his warm-up lap. He just pulled it off the pit road, so he'll get to the stripe, and we'll see if he decides to follow through, run the top his first lap, and then decide to drop it down low for lap number 2. I do want to point out, though, his McConey setup shop hoodie he's got on is pretty nifty there. I'm going to have to see if we can get some of those up here in the broadcast booth one day, because I like the look of that hoodie. I'm a big hoodie guy, and McConey Setup Shop is one of the presenting sponsors for our Swift Lifestyle Pro Series on Monday night as well. So good looking paint scheme as well in that 13 car, and we get to ride on board with Player, and it looks like he's going to do exactly that and run the top this first lap. But once he gets to lap number 2, I expect to see him painted down on that yellow line on the bottom. Looks like he's going to stay up high going through turn 3 and 4 here. Watching Andrew Player work his first qualifying lap. Still no times yet on the qualifying charts either. So he's off the turn 4.
I believe Andrew Player did pull out pretty quick since the start of qualifying. So he's going to be probably one of the first. And he's not the first, but he's one of the first to turn times. So you see him pull to the bottom here, Jacob. Now it's all about being on the bottom. Just how hard is it to focus on this sort of thing? It seems pretty easy, but I really don't think it is.
No, it's definitely not. I think it's it's that practice of trying to do as little wheel movement as possible. Every tenth of a degree you move your steering wheel, you know it's costing you a little bit of time. So you try to stay smooth, especially in the corners. You want to stay as close to the yellow line as possible without touching it. You don't want to move your wheel and scrub the tires any. You want to just try to stay as straight as possible with it. And he's doing a solid job, like it looks like, through the corners. He did pull a little bit high down the back straightaway. I'm wondering if that'll affect his lap some, just coming off that yellow line. But we'll see how it plays out here. We got Kyle Segan, the number 39, top of the charts with a pretty good lap of 54.63, but it gets demolished on lap number 2 by Ricky Springer. And that'll put an end to that lap 1 versus lap 2 debate real quick. He's over half a second quicker than his teammate in the number 39. Player crosses the stripe now, and he goes to the top of the charts.
I will tell you, Jason Martin, or it's not Jason Martin, excuse me, Jordan Martin, who's currently 5th on the board, did turn that time, that 54.23 on his first lap. The remaining drivers have done a second lap in the remaining drivers in the top 5, I should clarify. Now Shane Theron displaces Martin. Winds have picked up over 10 miles per hour here at the virtual Talladega. So it's going to help these guys a little bit across the front straightaway, it looks like, with the way the flags are blowing here in the sim. But hurt them a little bit on the backstretch, which I guess might be a decent thing, Jacob. The front stretch technically is a longer travel time, even though you aren't on a full straightaway, but going through the tri-oval and such. But still getting a little bit more help on that end of the speedway as compared to the backstretch.
Well, here's a number you're familiar with. The number 12, Justin Levine, on his second lap here. Levine, excuse me there. We haven't actually seen him too many times this season, but it's good to see him back here at Talladega. in the Lodgebox series, and we'll see what he's able to do here on this second lap. But looking like almost an Eric Wineland replica scheme.
I will tell you that Justin does love the Penske racing numbers, and it's a pretty sweet looking scheme. Having raced against him, raced with him
And he
on a
gets to
team
the top of the
before,
charts.
pretty stout driver right here, and backing it up right there with a 54.133, 4/100ths of a second faster than Andrew Player, who turned the fastest time on his second lap. That was Justin's second lap as well, turning that 54.133.
Speaking of paint schemes, I don't know if there's anybody better in the business than this guy right here, Alan Elwood. The Elwood Designs number 49 car. He showed it off on Twitter today that he's changing it up for the rest of the season. He's got this scheme and an invert to it, and I just don't know if there's anybody who makes a cleaner scheme than Alan Elwood.
Absolutely. Elwood Designs, the mastermind behind most of my paints that I'm able to show off. So I'm absolutely gonna shout out Elwood Designs and all the work that Alan's able to do. It's pretty sweet to see what he can come up with, and stay tuned for tomorrow night, because there may be a surprise up the sleeve in the Elwood Designs camp.
I'm curious too. And I'll be
I know you probably have not seen this one yet, so I'm pretty excited to unveil it, because it's probably going to be my ride the rest of the way, including through the playoffs, which, as I said, start in 3 weeks in all of the series.
Yeah, and tonight's a crucial race for that playoffs too. We already saw the playoff picture a few moments ago, but it can really get changed tonight based off if somebody outside of that top 12 is able to get a victory. Elwood here finishing up his second lap. I don't know if anybody's going to have anything for the 12 of Justin Levine, but we'll see what Elwood can put together here on lap number 2, and looks like he's going to go
236
on the charts. Yep.
Probably not where Alan wanted to sit himself, but P11 not awful, with over 30 drivers set to take the grid, actually 32. The same number that they had in the truck race last night, so pretty awesome to see. Nate Stewart out here turned that fast time, that 54.159 on his first lap. We'll see what he's able to do here through the tri-oval on lap number 2. If the 88's been able to pick up any speed at all, it looks like he did, but not enough. He's 11/1000ths of a second away from pole. Nate Stewart coming across the line and scoring the outside pole position currently, with just under 2.5 minutes remaining in the qualifying session. Now we take a look at Danny Ware just pulling off. Looks like he's going to try to make something happen here. Late in the session, the winds have picked up even more, up over 12 miles per hour now. So even just a 2 mile per hour difference can affect all of these race cars when such an aerodynamic sensitive racetrack.
It looks like Danny Ware's going to use the top side coming to his first lap. So still no real definitive answer, I don't think, Eric, whether it's quicker on that first lap to run the bottom, run the top on the second lap, or excuse me, on the first lap. We saw Nate Stewart, you said he actually ran the bottom both laps and it put him second on the charts. But actually, as I say that, Danny Ware coming to start his first lap is going to drop it to the bottom side of the racetrack. So maybe a little bit of a strategy change up for the 18 team.
Perhaps he was also watching his fellow competitors and seeing what number of lap they were on. If he's able to see that sort of telemetry, we definitely can up here in the broadcast booth. I'm not sure what the drivers are able to see on their ends, depending on whether they use some third-party applications or not. Want to Go Studios letting us in toward ATVO, pretty popular third-party data.
Ware is going to be cutting it close on the completion of his second lap. He might only get 1 lap in here.
Drivers turning times at 54 seconds. 54 seconds on the clock right now. And you generally get a 3-second grace period. He's outside it, 4 seconds. So depending on whether the session allows for a 3 or 10-second grace period, as I say that, Danny Ware has cut the motor off. As you see there, RPM coming down. 54.16, just 3 100ths off of the pole time. And that looks like it's going to do it for qualifying. No other drivers out here turning any laps. So, Justin Levine, 1 start in the Lodgebox series at Nashville, comes in for his 2nd start and places it on pole. We'll get the rest of your starting grid here in just a moment. But while we have the time, we want to take a moment to thank Northern Capital, especially Russ Anderson and Steve Anderson of Northern Capital for their support of the Northern Capital Truck Series every Tuesday night. And of course, their support of all of us here at Area and the Area iRacing Leagues. Northern Capital. Big shout out to those guys. And their series is absolutely electric every Tuesday night if you get the chance to tune in here on Area iRacing's Twitch channel. Now, time for that starting grid for the Lodgebox series. On pole, as we documented, Justin Levine scoring his first ever Lodgebox pole. Nate Stewart will start on the outside of row 1. Danny Ware will start inside of row 2 with Andrew Player to his outside. 5th place on the grid, Ricky Springer in that 51, and also Kyle Sieg, the brother of Ryan Sieg, will roll off from the 6th position. Dean Gagliano will start inside row 4, and Jordan Berry in the 57 outside of him. Row number 5 is capped off by 5-time winner this season, Cameron Hearn, and the 64 of Ed Robertson.
Rolling off in row 6 tonight, the 38 of Shane Theron. To his outside, his teammate, Alan Elwood, in the number 49 car. Row 7, that's where you're going to see Jordan Martin in the 02. Outside of him is going to be James Shane Wolf, making another start in the Lodgebox series. Row 8's got Chris Seidefeiden, the winner last time at a plate track at Daytona. And to his outside, the number 7 of James Scioli. David Weishart and Alan Ballagino both roll off from row number 9. That's a pretty stout row right there. I'd watch for that one of those two to maybe go to victory lane when it's all said and done tonight. And right behind them, the number 5 of Garrett Grant and the 84 of Forrest Smith will round out our top 20 starters.
Starting 21st tonight, Vern Hawkins Vern Hawkins will roll off from 21st. 22nd will be the 40 of Matthew Robinson. 23rd to Gary Lewis. These are all drivers that have not taken times yet, so it's going to be a little messed up on our scoring while it gets sorted out. Ryan Dixon will roll off 24th. Drew Trader, 25th. Dustin Carroll, making his Lodgebox Series debut, will roll off from 26th. Ryan Swann, last night's winner in the Northern Capital Truck Series, rolls off from 27th. The Caps boys, Adam Caps and son Jaden Caps, 28th and 29th tonight. Matthew Highmore rolls off from 30th in the final 2. Shotgun on the field. Alan Ballacino sitting there in 31st on my end. And also Gary Wells, who is your in-race admin, I believe. So actually only 31 drivers making the start tonight.
Gary Wells will be racing tonight. He admins on Thursday nights, but he is racing on Wednesday nights.
Oh,
I believe
he has not made the grid.
I believe the issue is with the 70 of Alan Ballacino. I'm seeing him scored 31st as well, but he was supposed to grid up 18th, so I'm not exactly sure what happened there. But that kind of explains why the graphics got thrown off there. It's something on iRacing's end for sure, so we'll have to see.
Everyone from 16th on back has not taken a time in qualifying, so our timing and scoring might have got a little lost there with iRacing's timing and scoring. One of the two is messed up. Regardless, we're going to bring you some racing action. Harold, you've seen the first 2 races here at Talladega this week. What do we expect tonight here? Final thoughts before we take the green.
Well, these guys are going to take one of 2 schools. They're going to either start like it's the last lap from the get-go, which is what we saw Monday night, or they're going to take it nice and easy like we did last night. I think the second of those 2 is the better way to do this. And save the fighting for after the last green flag pit stops.
Random pick the win.
Pick the win tonight. I think Danny Ware is going to pull one off.
Ooh, good pick.
Jacob Bell.
I got to go with Ryan Swann again.
Swann making it 2 in a row. I've got Nate Stewart. He missed pole by just a little bit. He'll make sure he's there at the end tonight. Get ready to take the green flag. 84 laps of action here at Talladega coming your way. Justin Levine is going to fire us off from the inside. Green flag in the air. We are off. And the Bama Bash 223.
Not sure what happened there on the start with the 57 to Jordan Berry. Saw him hop out of line real quick, but he's going to tuck back in. It'll be interesting to see the
bottom side specifically, or excuse me, that just hurt the top line. Specifically, Stewart and Player not really getting any help to maintain that top line. They're already falling back to the fourth row.
But up front, Levine or Levine? Am I saying it? I got to figure it out before.
Levine.
Levine.
Justin Levine.
He's got the lead. He's got Danny Ware behind him, who's a pretty stout pusher. I would recommend Danny Ware on any of these plate tracks as well. Ricky Springer, Kyle Sieg. So you see a lot of the Go Slow Motorsports team getting hooked up already, but it's Nate Stewart leading the charge on the top side. Lap 1, though, is going to go to Justin Levine.
And a game we will see played throughout the night is who wants to push who, and are you going to risk it and step out of line, make a second lane, maybe even a third lane? We saw 6-7 rows of 3 wide in the truck race last night for 10 plus laps coming down the stretch. I expect these guys to have that sense of urgency later, but Jacob Bell, I think that sense of urgency kind of gets put by the wayside early on.
Yeah, a lot of people, at least from my perspective of what I did last night, you want to get up front and get that bonus point for leading a lap, because there's probably no easier track than Talladega and Daytona to do that at. So you might as well take advantage of the points while you can, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Cameron Hearn, he's going to jump up top, and he's going to get a push from the 38 of Shane Theron. A little bit of an alliance there. It looks like getting formed up, but still lap 2 goes to Justin Levine with a strong run now from Cameron Hearn on the top side. Eric, last night in the Truck Series race, we saw 37 lead changes. I don't have the official record of that, but I'm sure that's probably one of the most we've ever seen in area history, with 17 different leaders. And as soon as I say that, it's going to be Cameron Hearn powering up on the top side of the track, and he's going to nose out in front and take over the top spot.
If you give me a quick moment, I can tell you there were 37 lead changes last night among 17 different leaders and only 3 cautions in the Northern Capital Truck Series race last night. Up the hill goes Cameron Hearn. I'm not sure if that was intended or if he got quite a push, but the 67 shuffled out to the top. He will go backward, and Shane Theron now leading us to start-finish line. He'll get a lap led and an extra bonus point tonight.
And that's important for Shane Theron. He's one of the few drivers that has ran up front all season long, but he doesn't have that victory that secures his playoff spot. But I did crunch a little bit of the numbers earlier today. There's a chance the 38 can leave tonight locked into the playoffs without a victory. So pretty impressive season he's put together. But right back up top now, the 12 of Justin Levine is going to have a huge run with Nate Stewart giving him some support. And actually, James Shamewolf's going to follow through there. They got a big shot down the back straightaway, and all 3 of those guys will take over the top 3 spots again.
Jacob Bell, I got to have a discussion with you about your pronunciation of Levine.
Levine.
Again. Now we're seeing the inside line become the dominant line, on the outside pretty much fading away. Just a couple scattered cars here across the top of the field. How much is it going to play into being a fuel race tonight, Jacob? Have you had a chance to crunch any numbers on our fuel strategy?
Well, last night it seemed like these guys elected to use the strategy. I call it the Samson strategy because it seems to have worked out really well for them in the past. And that's kind of where they just pit early to get off sequence from the rest of the field. So with that, given that strategy, I would assume it's a 3-stop race tonight. How early we see that first stop is going to be the question, because you know the Samson boys, they like to get down on pit road earlier than anybody else, get a good line of about 7 or 8 cars, and then just draft with each other and make up time on that pack so that when everybody else comes down and serves their first pit stop, they'll have a big lead. And we'll have to see if that comes into play tonight. It came into a factor last night, but I think everybody's starting to catch up on them.
As Samson, the team of drivers, including David Weishart, Chris Seidenfaden, Tyler Holman, Garrett Grant, and a couple other names over there. I'm sure I'm forgetting. James Shanewolf, maybe another one of those. Elected to pull a different strategy last night, and we probably will see that again tonight at some point. They mentioned we did see in the Truck Series from sitting in the race control booth last night, Jacob, that the leader only could really go like 20, 21 laps on a tank of gas. But if you were able to sit in the draft, you got quite a bit further sitting back there saving fuel. So how much are we going to see that tonight in terms of just biding your time and running quarter throttle.
Well, we'll have to monitor it, right? Because right now you got the number 12 and the number 88. They seem like their game plan coming into this race was just to lead every single lap. As soon as we saw a challenge for the lead, they went back and got that lead right back. So I think they want to stay up front. But with that, like you mentioned, being the leader and being out front, you're going to be burning way more fuel than the rest of the guys that are in the back of the pack. You know, saving fuel a little bit, letting off just through the nature of pack racing. So it'll definitely be something to watch out for the rest of the night. And I think once we see that first pit stop and when exactly it happens, it'll really start to open up the strategy window for everyone else to follow.
And just as we say that, here comes a challenge. The outside line reorganizing, led by Ed Robertson in the 64. Driver who is up there in points, but again, another one that has not locked himself in with any sort of win. He's coming to the forefront here to see what he can make happen. Big push from the purple number 54 of Chris Seidenfaden. He's also got the 02 of, I believe...
That's Jordan Martin.
That's Jordan Martin in tow, yes. And also the 57 of Jordan Berry, who wanted to hang along, didn't. Also the 40 of Matthew Robinson mixed in there as well. Which one will prevail? Which one will prevail here, Jacob? Is it going to be preferred later on to be in the top or be on the bottom? Also, I got that leader of the outside line wrong. It is the 83 of James Shane Wolf.
You know, I think the top is going to be the spot to be, and you're kind of seeing it already with only 4 cars up high. They're still hanging with the amount of cars on the bottom side of the racetrack. So really, it just takes a few more cars to get up there, and that top line becomes dominant. But it's the push right now that the 54 of Chris Seidenfaden is giving his teammate James Shanewolf that's really helping prevail the momentum on the top. I was going to mention, though, it's kind of funny because the guys who are up front competing for these bonus points right now for laps led aren't even in playoff consideration. You got the number 12, the 88, the 83. None of those guys are even eligible for the playoffs. The first playoff driver that's really eligible in this pack is the 54 of Chris Seidenfaden and the 51 of Ricky Springer, who's actually our bubble driver.
Springer third in line on the bottom there in that white and orange number 51. I heard some crunching at the back there, Jacob. I'm not sure that anything happened, but definitely did not sound good on the client side here on my end. Meanwhile, the outside line starting to fade away a little bit. Seidenfaden getting hot, having to jump out of line, letting the 02 and the 40 go. Then also here comes Ed Robertson, and also Cameron Hearn has worked his way back toward the front.
And set the fastest lap while he was at it. So that seems to be the Cameron Hearn strategy at these plate races early on. We saw it last night. He'd push his way to the front. As soon as he'd get there, he'd go right back to the back, push somebody else up there. And it seems to be exactly what he's doing tonight. James Shanewolf, the 83, is actually going to go high. And I think he's waving the white flag saying, I'm getting out of this pack. He's surrendering. He's going to give that outside lead to the 02 of Jordan Martin. And Martin, kind of interesting story. Eric hasn't had the season he probably had hoped for. A 16th and a 17th place finish in his 2 starts. Tonight at Talladega, though, he can turn that right around.
Absolutely. The wild card track can pretty much prove anyone can win here at Talladega. You just need to have the right dancing partners late. How much, Jacob, are these drivers actually out here trying to find dancing partners? You raced the truck race last night, so you get a feel for what it's like in the area iRacing League compared to what we see in real life, of course. How much are these guys actually out here trying to dance, find the person they want to have later on?
I think it matters a lot because when you look at the field, especially up front right now, it's a lot of new faces. So a lot of these guys are trying to prove to one another, hey, I can hold my own. I can hold my line. I can push. I can get pushed, and, you know, it won't be any issue. And I think that's what we're seeing with the 02 of Jordan Martin. I mentioned that he's only had 2 starts in the season, and right now he's working with the likes of Matthew Robinson and Ed Robertson. So 2 really talented race car drivers right behind him. And I think he's earning a little bit of respect out there, trying to lead them around the top side of this racetrack. Already 11 laps in the books, man. These laps fly by here at Talladega, that's for sure.
And most drivers choosing to stay single file on the bottom. A couple still changing hands at the back. This outside line, only 3, now 4 cars as Cameron Hearn works as, 4, now 5, with Cameron Hearn working up behind James Shanewolf there, just outside our picture.
I love
you see the push that these guys, yeah, absolutely. You see the push that these guys get on the straightaway. have you had a chance to run in the Xfinity car at all and get some testing in? Were we pretty stable? Or I know the trucks were very upset when pushing last night.
I'm pretty foreign to the Xfinity cars in this Lodgebox series. It's definitely not an area I'm familiar with. I probably have raced out of all 4 series this car the least. Maybe with the exception of the ARCA car actually, but yeah, it's not necessarily something I've practiced with a lot. I know that it's probably a little bit more stable than the trucks were last night. The trucks didn't really like getting pushed at all, really. It was kind of interesting because we're used to those being super stable at a plate track, but kind of was the opposite last night. These cars look a little bit more stable from what I've seen early on, a little bit more held to the ground, especially getting pushes down the back straightaway here. You see the 40 of Robinson. He's really trying to push that 02 out front. But the 88 and the 12, man, those two have been hooked up on the bottom, and they do not want to get rid of the lead. They want to fight as hard as they can to try to hold on to these top 2 positions, and I believe that's intentional. I think this is a strategy play on their part that if they're out front, they don't think they'll be caught up in the big one.
Well, both these drivers having made very few starts here in the Lodgebox series. Justin only 1 start on that number 12 car and 2 starts for the 88 of Nate Stewart coming into tonight. But you wouldn't really know it. They're out here leading the field, leading the inside line. Some of the highest iRating drivers in the session tonight. Justin boasting a 6,000 iRating, and also Nate Stewart up over 5,500 as well. So some of the most well-versed oval racers on the service in this series, the Lodgebox series, definitely I'd say has attracted the biggest fields week in and week out, Jacob.
Yeah, I would say they're right up there with the truck series. We see a lot of competitors eager to run these cars. I know, speaking with you and a few others like David Weishart and Cameron Hearn, that these Xfinity cars are actually their favorite to drive. They like them at the 1.5 miles. They like them about everywhere they go. So they seem to be a lot of fun, and you can see these drivers enjoying it. Looks like Cameron Hearn's working that 3rd lane now with the 54 Chris Seidefeiden right behind him. I was eager to see if anybody else was going to jump up there with him, but it looks like that 3rd lane might be coming to effect early on. We saw a lot of 3-wide racing last night. Looks like we might see a little bit right now.
There were whispers in the Discord of potentially a top-line racetrack for the final 2 races of the week here at Talladega. Cameron Hearn wanting to try to make that top-line train come to fruition. Unfortunately, it will not for him right now, and he'll fall in behind Seidefeiden and still running the 2nd lane. These guys starting to leave a little bit of a gap compared to the rest of the drivers, just biding their time back here. Jacob, and everyone has a different strategy on super speedways. It's very well documented, but we see drivers like the 33 of Brian Dixon, the 84 of Forrest Smith back here around 20 to 25th place. Even Alan Elwood riding 25th right now, a winner on this season, just minding his own business here at the back.
Yeah, I think their goal is to make it to the end with a clean race car. And really, when you go to tracks like this, that's all you can ask for. Is if you have a clean race car and you got a shot to win within 5 to go, can't really do anything more than that. It kind of comes down to luck at that point after that and getting yourself in the right position. But up front, I noticed Jordan Martin was actually able to clear the guys up front and get to the bottom. And then as soon as he did that, exactly what we expected, the 12 and the 88 hook right back up together, and they go right back around the guy who's in front of them.
Absolutely not wanting to give up the lead is the 12 in the 88, working beautifully there to get by the 02. Still being chased on the outside by the 40 of Matthew Robinson and also the 83 of Jane Shamewolf.
Yeah, they want no part outside the top 5. They want to stay up front and in the clean air and away from all the trouble and the chaos is what I think is going through their mind.
Not too much trouble thus far, but if we are estimating things correctly, pit stops are about 5 to 10 laps away here in the Bama Bash 223. Just 16 laps completed, working lap 17, coming to the completion of lap 17 right here and to start lap 18.
I think watch the 83 and the 64 here. Those two are drivers for Samson. They just moved up into that 3rd lane. I think they're going to be going to the back because we could potentially be seeing an early pit stop with that Samson bunch. So you see them up top, a little bit out of the shot here, but they went all the way to that 3rd lane, and then they decided to drop back, and I think they're going to try to pick up their teammates and get down on the pit road here in the next few laps.
A lot of drivers starting to try to find the bottom. Another one in the back of our picture there snuck in just a little bit. The 49 of Alan Elwood spoke about him. That green car you'll see in the back of your shot right there toward the top. Starting to go to the middle and make moves toward the front. Meanwhile, a change for second in the outside lane. Cameron Hearn now passes Ricky Springer to push Matthew Robinson. Now you're going to see, I think, Jacob, a pretty stout push coming from the Hearn machine to the back bumper of Robinson.
I agree with you, but I think there's a lot of cars getting lined up on the bottom that it might be hard for him to push that 40 out front. A lot of numbers on the bottom side of the racetrack, but we know Cameron Hearn. We know he's willing to give it a shot. And
down the backstretch, they snake once more. Here comes that huge push from the 15 to the back of the 40. Not quite going to get him clear off into turn 3. So they remain side by side. And how much stress do you feel like a driver like Matthew Robinson is under trying to get up here and take the lead? And he might be wanting to pull down to give Cameron Hearn some air before too long.
You know, Matthew Robinson's one of the drivers we see on Monday nights in the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series, but I would not look too much into that. He is an experienced race car driver. He's been on this platform for a long time, and he's very talented as well. He's won a lot of races in lower series, and he's won a lot of races in higher series. So I think Robinson is too shaken there, racing with the best of them. And as we say that, Cameron Hearn actually goes up top, and now Ricky Springer goes to that third lane. And kind of looks like they're trying to put Robinson there in the sucker hole, but James Shamewell's going to get to his back bumper and pick him up. And now 51 on the outside is going to get shuffled back.
Springer out of line. Whispers that pit stops are starting to happen shortly. Saw a call in the driver's channel, but I don't think it was actually truthful. How much of it is going to be guys trying to play games with each other, Jacob, and maybe you see a fake pit call or two?
Well, when you look, like you mentioned, back towards the end of the field, you got the 69 of Gary Lewis, the 56 of Nick Trader, I believe. A lot of those guys are teammates, and they're all hooked up at the back end of the field, so I believe they're anticipating a pit stop and trying to just get spread out and get hooked up together so that when they do get on pit road and they do get off of pit road, they'll have drafting partners to dance with. So you see a big single file line back there at the end of your screen. I believe that is what they're gearing up for. So you mentioned it. Few laps away from pit stops. I think it could even be as early as this lap or next.
Joining the fray on the top side, here comes, led by Cameron Hearn, the Alliance guys. Cameron Hearn for Infinite, and Alan Elwood in the 49, and the 38 is Shane Theron for VRA.
Be interesting.
Now have worked their way to the front.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say it's interesting to see if they go to that third lane. I know Cameron wants to do it, and it looked like Alan kind of wants to do it as well back there, just outside the top 5. So probably, I'd assume, getting down onto one of these straightaways, you'll see a big run coming from the 15, the 49, and even Shane Theron back there in the 38 helping him out. But pretty even right now up front, and there's the move.
To the outside, 3 wide. Down the back stretch, not a huge deal at Talladega, but it can be if things get tight later down the stretch. Hearn and Elwood just seeing what they probably can do right here. How much information goes into the memory bank right here of runs that you make here versus what you're going to see at the end of the race.
And Springer actually going to jump up there too.
Oh,
we got somebody coming down there.
Blocking up. He's blown a motor. Nate Stewart has blown a motor and missed pit road. Actually, he slid through the grass a little bit. He's going to get an unsafe entry. But the motor on the 88 just expired.
Nate Stewart going down pit lane right now. The 88 car has been second place all night long, and coming out of turn 4 right there, it just blows the motor in that 88 car, and that's going to be the end of his night.
I cannot believe that I just put the commentator's curse on my pick to win. Oh my goodness, Nate Stewart just got too hot trying to push the 12. 0% tape on this Xfinity set, but it is very easy to push water if you are not careful.
Well, I was going to ask you, Eric, the 88 was the pusher all night. Like, he has been right on that back bumper of the 12 since the drop of the green flag. And I was wondering why they weren't swapping and getting somebody out, getting the 88 out front to get some fresh air. But obviously they paid the price for it. Well, at least the 88 did. The 12 of Justin Levine is still in good shape right now. He's actually the third car in the top lane here. And I think we're going to get to a replay. This is live currently here in turn 1 and 2. As you see the 12, he's that third car up high. The replay here, though, coming out of turn 4, exactly where it happened. 88 blows up right in front of the 0-2. Man, that could have been disastrous.
Big move by Nate, just getting out of the way there and pulling down and able to arrest it to pit road, but unfortunately ending his race in the process. So not the night that the 88 wanted to have here tonight. He'll have to just cheer on his drafting buddy, the 12 of Justin Levine, who is currently pushing Alan Elwood to the lead.
Hey, you know what I'm thinking about, Eric? I don't know if you were in the booth with us at Daytona. I don't believe you were. But we saw,
No, sir.
I believe, 2 engines expire that race as well in this series. It was Alan Elwood was one of them, and the other was Garrett Grant in the 5. So we had 2 motors blown there at Daytona. We already have 1 blown here tonight at Talladega. I'm wondering if that's a trend with these race cars.
Well, I do know, Jacob, that the Xfinity set has 0% tape on it, and yet it's very easy with such little air movement, with the way these back bumpers hang so low, to not be able to get air to the motor, or specifically the radiator. And not getting air to that radiator actually will cost you quite a bit. And in the case of Nate Stewart, cost him his entire race just by not being able to cool it enough after pushing Justin Levine for quite a bit.
And Levine,
So something we'll have to keep our eye on is whether these guys try to manage that sort of thing. We see Cameron Hearn tucking in real tight behind Justin right now to try to give him a shot back out to the front. Meanwhile, Ricky Springer doing everything he can to push Alan Elwood here off of turn 2.
next guy I was thinking of was Cameron Hearn. He's been the other guy we've seen pushing people all night long. So gonna have to watch the engine temps on the 15. But up front, Levine gets back to the lead, gets down onto the bottom, and now for the first time tonight, it's Alan Elwood who's trying to lead a charge to the front.
You got help there from Ricky Springer. They've come detached now, and Andrew Player also third in line on the top there. Pit stop's not too far away here. We estimated 20 to 25. We're a little past that now, working lap 26. Haven't really seen anyone think about coming down pit lane yet. Might see it last a little longer here in the Xfinity Series, Jacob, especially for these guys that have been riding toward the back. I will say that the absolute ride in the back, stay out of trouble guys like Brian Dixon, Dean Gagliano, and such in the back have started to close up, as you can see in our picture there.
Yeah, they don't want to get too far away from that lead pack draft, or else they know when they get on pit road, there's a chance they can be by themselves leaving pit road. So that's definitely a key moment. I actually moved my own camera from the production feed back to the back end of the field because I do want to make sure I'm ready for these pit stops if we happen to get them.
And the numbers that I've got was 26 to 29 was my calculations.
So, right inside that window, according to our pit reporter, Harold Darner. Thank you, Harold.
And it's definitely has significantly started to single file out quite a bit more in the last few laps. It looks like almost everybody except for 2 cars are down on the bottom side of the track, which means one thing most of the time, Eric.
Pit stops are on the mind of these drivers. So we'll get a chance to see just how long they want to stretch it here. At this point, Jacob Bell, I would say it's turned into a 2-stop race.
Yeah.
With pit stops potentially coming on lap 30 and 60 if they can make it there, which would easily put them in a 2-stop window. Actually, the 2-stop window should be open right now. I would not be surprised to see Samson dive, and right on cue, here comes the Samson drivers. The 54, Chris Seidenfaden, the 64, Robertson, Shane Wolf, and Seidenfaden out in the grass. They've missed pit road. Also, Scioli, Weishart, Highmore Grant, both Caps, father and son duo, and Ryan Swann all to pit road right here. We might be able to get a replay of this on One to Go Studios. I'm not sure yet, but James Shane Wolf and Chris Seidenfaden absolutely missed pit road and were out in the grass before pulling it back down. They'll get an unsafe entry. Actually, both have already been assessed black flags.
And that's a tough break for those drivers because if there's a track that's terrible to get a penalty at, I don't know if there's a worse one than Talladega. So they're going to be stuck on pit road. And you mentioned it, it's the 54 and the 83 with those unsafe pit entrants. Here comes the rest of the field live right now, and it's a lot. We got 20 cars trying to get on pit road right now. Everybody does it smoothly this time around, Eric. You got the replay, though, with James Shamoff and Chris Seidenfaden here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the lap that they were going to pit on. All 21 drivers have made pit lane of the live picture. We'll see the stop here for the 54 and 83. We're actually going to focus on the 54 because I think he was the more egregious of the two drivers. Here comes, there's Shane Wolf locking up. Seidenfaden didn't lock up till late, and right there, he's out in the grass even further than Nate Stewart was when Nate missed pit road
And back
after
to
he blew the
line.
motor.
If we can jump to Alan Elwood, because he's one of the guys in the middle of this pack coming off the pit road, maybe Andrew Player as well. There's about 20 cars leaving pit road right now, but you mentioned that they were all able to get on smoothly, so no penalties there. There's only a few guys that have stayed out, and it's the 84 of Ford Smith, the 54 of Nicholas Schrader, but here they come now down pit road, and this is it.
The final 7 coming down pit road. You see someone trying to exit right in front of them as well. Someone that served a penalty. Final 7, Smith, Trader, Vern Hawkins, Gary Lewis, Brian Dixon, the other Trader boy, and Carroll have all made their stops right there. Meanwhile, out front, Cameron Hearn has come off pit road in front of Justin Levine. Here comes a charge from the 3 behind him. That's the Robertson machine in the 64. David Weishart with the push, and also the 5 of Garrett Grant. Here they come to the outside for the lead.
So Sampson's made the decision to go to the front, and they're doing it in quick order. All 3 of them nose to tail on the top side of the track. Robertson's going to clear, but he's going to stay up top until they can get the other 2 teammates of Weishart and Grant clear. And it looks like actually the 51 of Ricky Springer is even going to jump up there with them. So the numbers up front are a lot smaller right now. We only see a 5-car pack with a few stragglers about half a second behind them, but I anticipate this pack to start closing up, especially with these guys going side by side here.
If you string it out based off of gaps, you've got the first 8 cars separated by just under a second. And then it's 1 second back to Alan Elwood, who it might be having a little bit of a network connectivity issue. You saw him blink right there off of turn 4. He's leading the second charge of 6 drivers. They are closing in on these front 8. And then there's another gap back about 4 seconds back to Matthew Robinson, Dean Gagliano, and more. That's 15th down to 25th altogether. And then
organized back here.
No, it does not appear to be. And then we also have Forrest Smith, who kind of got caught out in no man's land on pit lane. Had some trouble reaching his box. Heimborn also pitting with no help, and he's currently getting ready to fall a lap down. And then the penalty cars of Shane Wolf, Seidenfaden, and one of the Caps.
Oh.
It's the younger of the 2 Caps drivers.
It got busy
Dalen
up front.
Caps.
They got real busy up front with that second group catching them, and all of a sudden now it's Ed Robertson in the 64 to the lead, and Garrett Grant pulls down just in front of Justin Levine in the number 12, and it was a close call there. That everybody just left Alan Elwood up high and all by himself. A little bit of a blink there, continuing to the 49 car as well, but that those 2 different packs that we saw there for the first few laps have now closed up, and they are in one big 14 car pack up front now. Back to the
Cleaning it up.
game. Go ahead.
Cleaning it up. Shane Wolf, Seidenfaden, Jalen Caps, and Matthew Heimborn have to do a lot of work here. 44 seconds off the lead. They are just about 10 seconds ahead of the lead pack right here that we're watching. Might see them just getting through the tri-oval there. To the outside comes 3 wide with 57 of Jordan Berry. Not sure if he got shoved out there by design or just trying to avoid a problem. 57 going to fall back here. Alan Elwood picking up Justin Levine on his front bumper in the middle lane. Meanwhile, Sampson lining up the first 3 cars on the inside. Robertson, Weishart, and Grant. We saw them charge right there. Out of pit road. Levine clear. He's going to go to the bottom. He does not get Alan Elwood with him because Ricky Springer came up there and gave Alan Elwood a shot down the back straightaway.
Now it looks like Springer is going to go up to that 3rd lane, and I think he's saying he's done with that, and he's going to try to get out of the way and let these guys go ahead and race for the lead themselves. Robertson was our leader there on the bottom, but Justin Levine in the 12 was able to clear him and take over that top spot yet again. If there's anybody who wants to be up front tonight, without a doubt, it's the 12 of Justin Levine. He has tried to lead every single lap of this event so far. Obviously, he hasn't done it, but he's put up a heck of an effort trying to do so. Right now, though, it's Alan Elwood, Shane Thieren, the two cars up top trying to make a charge. Both those drivers race for VRA.
This lead pack now 14 drivers strong. Then it's another 5 seconds back to 15th through 25th. From Gary Lewis down to Ryan Swann. Ryan Swann having some major connection issues at the moment. A ping of over 2 seconds is not a good thing to see on the service.
No.
Nonetheless, those drivers turning lap times in the 51.2 to 51.6 range. Meanwhile, your lead pack somewhere around a 51.6 to a 51.9. So that second pack is trying to do a little bit of catching up. I just don't know that they have enough speed, Jacob.
No, I don't know if they do, but look at the push Danny Ware's getting in the third lane right now from Cameron Hearn. We're 3 wide for second on back right now in the front pack, and it's going to be the 18 of Danny Ware who's getting the benefits of a good shove from Cameron Hearn right now.
Those two almost turned the fastest lap of the race on the top side there. Now all the VRA guys line up on the top, but that network connection issue potentially for Alan Elwood. Not a good thing to see from him. VRA now, the first 4 cars. Well, VRA plus Alliance with Infinite, I should add, for Cameron Hearn. The first and only 4 cars on the top side of the racetrack. Justin Levine leads the bottom lane from Ed Robertson and David Weishart.
And Cameron Hearn aggressively pushing Danny Ware. You see a little bit of a wiggle there in the middle of turn 2, but that number 15 car has not laid off that back bumper since he got behind the 18. And you got to wonder, with the engine troubles we saw earlier, as now Hearn pops out of line, you got to think that's got to have to do with some overheating issues there on the 15.
Probably blinked the gauges just a little too much. He wants to make sure he can try to preserve what he's got left for later in the race. How much of it, Jacob, is trying to just save your stuff, especially with pushing in? We have a yellow on the racetrack. It's on the front straightaway. It's happened in the lap pack, just ahead of the leaders. Alan Elwood goes around. Shane Thieren around. This is unprecedented. The 49 is out of the race.
I think he didn't see that guy who was wrecked up there at the top of the track. And we'll have to see exactly what happened here on the replay, but the first caution flag of the night is out. And it's a weird one, that's for sure. You see Chris Seida fighting in this pack, James Shanewolf as well.
So to give you guys an update, this pack was barely ahead of the lead pack. Just about, I'd say, 8 to 10 seconds. Probably a little less. As we see him come through 3 and 4 here, we saw all the smoke. We're about to see what the smoke, or what triggered the smoke, excuse me. To see the 0-5 giving a big push to Shane Wolf. Looks like he might be hot. He shuffles out of line a little bit. Seidenfaden decides to go to the inside, and the 0-5 thought he was clear, and he definitely was not. Turned down the field, and instead of holding... Oh my goodness. Instead of locking it down, he rolled back up the racetrack to the wall, and Alan Elwood had already committed to going to the top. And unfortunately, he ran right into the 0-5 as the 0-5 couldn't get reset in time. 38 also getting a significant piece of damage out of that. Also choosing to go to the top and ended up being the wrong decision for those drivers. Pit stops happening here under yellow for the first time. 46 laps to go. Puts them in a one-stop situation if they pit here, and they get to play with how much fuel they want to put in for that final stop. But every single driver on the lead lap down pit road right here.
Yeah, and thankfully for those drivers we saw that were nearly a lap down, this caution came at a great time for them. It allows them to catch back up to the lead pack here, and we still have all 29 drivers that are left running on the track back on the lead lap currently. I believe that's actually
Levine.
Go ahead.
Justin Levine wins the race off of pit road. Danny Ware coming out in second. Chris Seidenfaden missed his pit stall, so he will have to come down pit road once more. So Ed Robertson, really the third driver that took tires is off of pit road. 2 tires for the 34 of Dean Gagliano is going to jump him up the order quite a bit. He's jumped up to 8th, as well as the 40 of Matthew Robinson, also taking 2 tires. David Weishart had a 0.2 second stop time in his pit stall. I think he may have missed it as well. I'm not totally sure on that one.
Maybe just intentionally going to the back as well. A lot of these guys don't really prefer to be up front, especially with so many laps left in the race.
Well, with such a short stop time, he did come out 12th. So we'll see if he chooses to come back down pit road. The driver's making it almost 30 laps on a tank of fuel, puts it at this point it'd be about 45, 44 when they take the green flag, Jacob. So be about a fuel stint and a half for these drivers. And remember, these tanks are not actually the full tank per the area iRacing rules. Their tanks are cut into, I think, 3/4, right, Jacob?
75% fuel, yep. So 3/4. But
so we'll see drivers that choose to top off here. Chris Seidenfaden being one of those, but he also missed his pit stall. Ed Robertson in the 64. Looks like a lot of the Samson drivers. You're also dragging Jordan Berry and Andrew Player down with them.
So a lot can change here now from the end of the race, almost halfway down. We got working lap number 40 now of 84, so we're going to restart with about 43 laps to go. I believe they just got the 1 to green, actually, so it's going to be 44 laps to go when they get the green flag. And you mentioned it, it's not within the fuel window. They're definitely going to have to make one more stop from here. So I anticipate seeing a lot of these guys trying to really game around that end of the race. They know they have a 44-lap stint. They know they can go about 30 laps on fuel at the most, so we could see a pit stop as early as 15 laps into this run.
Absolutely. These drivers getting their first break in the action will have to get focused here for the restart. Speaking of focused fans, be sure to visit our sponsor, Swift Lifestyles, for clean supplements that help improve your focus and gaming. Use discount code AREA iRacing for 15% off your order. Again, that is AREA iRacing for 15% off your entire order you make on Swift Lifestyles website. Special thank you to Swift Lifestyles for their support of the Swift Lifestyles Pro Series on Monday nights, the ARCA Series. Of course, the support of all of us here at Area. First caution falling on lap 38, getting us a break in the action just prior to halfway. These drivers getting lined up 1 to green right now. The lights are off on the iRacing Mustang pace car. We'll restart with 44 laps to go. If you're just joining us, thank you for tuning in for race number 10 of the Lodgebox series at Talladega, the Bama Bash 223. Justin Levine has been your leader for quite a lot of it. A couple lead changes, but Justin quickly finds some help and gets himself back out front, but he'll be flanked to the outside on this restart by Danny Ware, who's got Cameron Hearn, a pseudo-aligned teammate, to push him on the top. Meanwhile, Shane Theron, a VRA driver like Danny Ware, also lined up on the bottom. I incorrectly stated that Shane Theron got damage in that caution. He actually did not. And we'll restart from the 3rd position. Field in the hands of the driver of the number 12, Justin Levine. Through the restart zone he comes. He's going to wait it out till that green flag waves. There it is, back under green here at Talladega.
And we see a good start there on the outside. 18 of Danny Ware's going to go to the lead. I'm trying to bring up my Twitch app on my phone and actually use the new emotes we got on the Twitch channel to wave the green flag. So pardon me for being silent there for a little bit, trying to get some emotes in on the restart. But appreciate everybody who subscribed to the channel. On this restart, though, we got Danny Ware up high, Cameron Hearn pushing him. Down low, it's Justin Levine getting pushed by Matthew Robinson.
The outside line looks to be more organized here, Jacob, but the inside one's prevailing. I'm not quite sure why this is. because you would definitely think that the cars that are tighter packed would be the ones to gain more momentum. And as I say that, the outside line starts to fizzle off on the backside of it.
Yeah, no real advantage yet between either of the top or the bottom in terms of the race lead. They're pretty much dead even. And Danny Ware, man, he has been getting quite the push from Cameron Hearn these last few laps. Even under caution, I saw the 15 giving him a little bit of a bump, but that 15 is not afraid to use that nose and get it right on the back bumper of Danny Ware. Look at the push he's giving him down the back straightaway.
He also has Shane Theron, who went from third on the restart to jump right up behind the two drivers. Now Cameron going to pull out a line. He's actually almost got a push from Shane there to put Danny Ware 3 wide, but instead Cameron going to go to the back of the outside lane. He's going to get picked up by the number 69 of Gary Lewis. Shane also falling out of line a little bit as well. You got 4 wide, almost 3 wide now with Alan Ballacino coming up the middle. He comes in that number 70 car. He'll go to the lead at the outside lane, and pretty much the rest of the drivers falling to the back.
And using the top side too, up next to the wall, you see a lot of them. The 38 and the 18 specifically going to the back in a hurry. We'll be right on board here with the number 13 of Andrew Player, our VR driver who's got the onboard cam for tonight. He's doing a great job working his way through the pack. You see him just outside the top 10 here behind Ed Robertson in that number 64 and Matthew Heimborn, the number 1. But Player, haven't talked a lot about him tonight, Eric. I think he's been one of the guys who's been trying to play it patient, but it's getting real busy all around him. You see he's in the middle of a 3 wide sucker hole, and here's on board with David Weishart as well, running the bottom side of the track. He's watching everything that we were just talking about.
Yeah, we saw a Player take a head nod up into the right. That's his mirror. In VR, getting a look at his cockpit mirror there to see what's going on around him is absolutely a vital thing they do a lot here on the Super Speedway. It's something that you get the immersion of in VR that you don't quite get with just regular monitors unless you have 3 of them and you can run the in-car mirror. Most of the time you see the virtual mirror being used, like by drivers such as David Weishart. You see him looking up toward the top of his screen every now and then, in addition to communicating with his teammates. Every single driver in the Lodgebox series pretty much just sits in a Discord channel with their teammates, Jacob, and I've heard conversations range from anything of strategy to who was the better Cup Series driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Jimmy Johnson.
Well, I mean, that's got to be an obvious one. I won't comment on that for this.
I mean, I think it's obvious too, but they also talk about popularity. We've had, I'll be honest, the VRA chats have had some very interesting conversations over the season.
I'll keep my opinion to myself for right now. watching
you can absolutely say Jimmy Johnson. I will not fault you for that.
Johnson, hand over fist. I mean, come on now. 7 championships. Are we kidding? But watching this 39 of Kyle Sieg, he got really close to the right rear of Matthew Robinson there coming out of turn 2. And he had to move back up to get away from them. When that happened, he almost made contact with the 15 of Cameron Hearn, who was on his outside. So the 3 wide racing at the front of the field got a little hairy there for a moment. Hearn has been the one guy we've seen all night long in that third lane trying to make it work. And there you see, again, close racing between him and the 39.
We are just past halfway in the Bama Bash 223. Would like to bring you our through the field, but I don't think they're going to stay in the same position for too long.
Definitely.
So how about we just highlight a couple drivers that we've liked to watch. Ones to watch here down the stretch, Jacob Bell. And I'm going to start with the leader, Justin Levine. This 12 car has placed himself out front every single opportunity that he's been able to. And again, he finds himself in the lead on this stint, getting pushed by Matthew Robinson. This racer apparel, a Bruzy racewear, number 12 Ford Mustang has seen a lot of laps out front, and I think he wants to keep it that way down the stretch. Definitely my number 1 to watch.
You know, I got to go with one of the guys who's right behind him right now, Matthew Robinson. He's been right behind the 12, not necessarily in line with the 12, but he's been inside the top 5, using the top. We've seen Robinson getting pushed by Cameron Hearn. He looks pretty strong then. We've seen Robinson pushing, when he, for instance, right now, when he's right behind the number 12. I think he can do both. He seems to be very versatile. So I think that 40 is going to be someone to watch out for. We just had a big moment right behind them between the 15 and the 7 of James Scioli down the back straightaway. It got sketchy there for a second, had to check up. Even saw Scioli there in the 7 go down to the apron to try to avoid a potential incident that might have been happening, but they all did a good job holding on to it. And Scioli, another one of those guys I'd keep my eye on. He's been outside the top 15 for much of this race. Here we are, just over halfway. He's worked his way inside the top 5 now. Might be go time for the number 7.
I'm going to give you one way at the back, Harold. The 38 of Shane Theron is going to be my dark horse one to watch. Shane just went from 3rd place on the restart all the way to the back. He's going to choose to ride and bide his time. But if there's anything I've been able to see watching the 38 race, not only here in area, but in other leagues throughout iRacing, is he's a pretty stout racer when it comes to working the draft and the slipstreams to try to get toward the front. Expect him to make a late push toward the front. Currently rides 27th with only 1 lap led. The driver from Lewiston, Maine.
I got one. I got another one that I want to keep our eye on here for the rest of the race. I think Harold's going with Danny Ware. I'm going with the 83, though, of James Shamewolf right now, who's even further back than the 38, I believe. Actually, he's right in front of him.
Right in front of him.
26, he's led a lap, so we saw the 83 make a charge to the front, and then he's elected now to hang out in the back and try to avoid whatever chaos might be brewing. But James Shamewolf found a way to put himself in potential, or in a chance to win last night in the Truck Series race at the end. I think he's gearing towards the same strategy tonight and trying to find his way to the front when it matters most.
Now, Harold Darner, I saw you highlight a driver that you said was your pick to win tonight. Tell us a little more about this driver.
Oh, I saw Danny Ware on this restart. He was up front, and he chose to take himself out of the front pack and put himself towards the back where there's single file. I think he's sitting himself back there to stay out of trouble and be there towards the end. Like you said, we got one more green flag pit stop on the agenda for tonight. See Danny Ware and his group get up there with the VRA drivers towards the end of the night.
Definitely one to watch. 35 laps to go as these drivers cross the stripe. About 5 laps till the bell is rung for the pit window being open here to make it to the end in the Bama Bash 223. Justin Levine, still your leader from Matthew Robinson. Cameron Hearn kind of trying to make something happen all by himself on the top. Not really getting too much help from the drivers around him at the moment. James Scioli to his inside right now. The next driver on the top is about 10 car lengths back, and that's the 1 car of Matthew Heimborn making his Lodgebox Series debut, Jacob.
Yeah, and right behind Heimborn is actually who I wanted to touch on. It's the 01 of Ryan Swann, who we saw him at the back of the pack for a large part of this race so far. And I think this is the closest to the front we've seen him, and he's bringing some friends along with him. He's got the 92 of Dustin Carroll behind him, as well as the 41 of Vern Hawkins III. So that 01 car maybe leading a charge here late to try to get to the front of the field before we get within that last pit stop window.
Chris Seidenfaden starting to make some moves to the middle there, now to the bottom. Linking back up with his Samson teammates, that purple and black Twitch car. A lot of back and forth seesawing down the straightaway, Jacob. And I just, at this point, with 33 and a half, 34 laps to go, how much are nerves starting to play into these drivers a little bit? Starting to get that itch that it's go time?
I think the nerves are going to be geared towards that last pit stop, which could be anywhere within these next 5 laps all the way to about 10 laps to go. I think everybody knows that that's the real money stop. We already saw issues the first time around on pit road, specifically with the 54 of Chris Seidenfaden and the 83 of James Shamewolf. Luckily, a caution was able to bail them out. I think the nerves are going to be geared towards getting on and off pit road smoothly. And by the way, the 02 of Jordan Martin all of a sudden back inside the top 5. He's that second car on the top. I don't know where he...
Oh! Brian Swann just blinked back into Vern Hawkins' race car, and how those two drivers did not spin, I do not know. But I think Vern Hawkins just had a heart attack in that number 41. You'll see it on your timing and scoring as the number 10, but Vern Hawkins actually out here in a number 41 paint scheme, making an Xfinity start in the Lodgebox Series tonight. But that was a wild moment, because I think Ryan Swann, who's had intermittent connection issues, I'd call it at best, tonight, just suddenly disappeared and reappeared right inside the 41.
How about the push from Jordan Martin? He got Cameron Hearn all the way out front in the lead, and Cameron Hearn clears Justin Levine. And now Levine kind of sandwiched in that second spot, which if we know anything, there it is. He's going to make sure to get right back up front as quick as he can. He's going to jump to the top in front of the 0-2, and he's going to make Jordan Martin push him back to the lead now.
Jordan Martin just got used twice. He pushed Cameron Hearn out to the lead, and Justin said, hey, I saw that. How about you give me one of those? And goes right back to the lead. He does not want to surrender it, Jacob. And this is a refreshing strategy because I don't think we saw this at Daytona in the Lodgebox series. We saw a lot of drivers just be complacent about where they were riding, but Justin Levine does not want to give this lead up.
And I think Cameron Hearn's toying with him now because he's going to do the exact same thing and jump in front of the 0-2 again. He's going to get a push from the 0-2 again, and he's almost clear, not quite. Jordan Martin's going to have to lay off there as he started to look towards the right rear of the 15. You know, problems I could see occurring with this strategy, though, is a lot of pushing being done by that 0-2. Hasn't gotten a chance for a lot of fresh air, so you got to wonder about the temps in that race car.
He's only given 3 really good pushes. I think he can get a couple more out of it before a problem starts to arise, but those two getting separated over there in turn 2 might have just sealed their fate for chances at the lead again. They'll have to re-rack and maybe think of a different strategy because Justin Levine was able to fight his way back to the front and continues to lead.
And I think one of the big reasons why that happened as they're closing back in again was Robinson really got hard on the back bumper of the 12 and gave him a good shot going down the back straightaway to make sure he got back out front. But now it's another run from the top side of the racetrack. Jordan Martin, who's right now probably everybody's favorite pusher if you're in the top 5. He's gotten 2 people to the lead, and they just keep cycling through using his push.
The pit window has opened up right here on this lap, Jacob Bell. We see anyone think about making the stop?
Let's see, 29 to go. You know, I would anticipate some of these guys, obviously you can make it to the end from here. I think the big question on everybody's mind is going to be overtime, though. So they might hang out for a few more laps just to make sure they got the fuel. And look at the block Hearn tried to throw there on Levine. It wasn't enough. Levine found some space on the outside, and he's getting pushed to the lead by guess who? Jordan Martin in the 0-2 once again, and he's going to drop back down to the bottom.
You saw Cameron Hearn try to move up the racetrack a little bit, get a little side draft on that number 12 to pull him back, and it just didn't quite work. So Cameron Hearn's going to go ahead and push Justin out in front. Meanwhile, huge shot coming from Heimborn to the back of the 0-2 of Martin. And Heimborn said, you've done enough. We'll push you to the lead, Jordan.
Heimborn is a little bit sketchier in terms of his line right now, it does appear, though, than Jordan Martin. Looks like that one car kind of wiggling around a lot more than we see the 0-2, for instance, or even the 40 for that matter. So he's not able to get as good of a push as Martin's been able to give. Now Matthew Robinson's going to jump up high, and he's going to try to get a shot from Martin. And then Hearn's going to jump up high and try to get a shot from Robinson. Everybody wants to be the guys going towards the front. A
three wide for the lead. Matthew Robinson said, no, I will not push you, Cameron Hearn. He goes to the top side, up the banking over here in 1 and 2. And it's not enough. He's going to have to get some more help from Jordan Martin.
I'm really getting concerned for the 0-2 of Jordan Martin, man. We saw how quick the engine expired on the 88 of Nate Stewart earlier on in the race. You got to wonder how much those temperatures are rising in the 0-2 car. He's still tucked in line behind the 40 of Matthew Robinson, though. Doesn't seem to be too concerned about it.
Levine getting a push to Hearn, trying to get him out in front, but I think Cameron Hearn has clued into something here, Jacob, and that is that he cannot get too big of a gap to that outside lane. He wants to try to box the 12 in here.
And it's really going to be interesting to see what Robinson does now. We've seen Levine in second. We haven't seen Levine in third yet. For the first time tonight, there's a chance we see the 12 car as the third car in line on the bottom. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. So Robinson actually just disappeared, and we'll have to see when he reappears. This could be disastrous, though, up front right now, because Jordan Martin's not sure if that 40 car is about to reappear or if he's done.
I have bad news for you, Jacob Bell. The 40 has disconnected. He will shortly fall out. His quality has suddenly dropped. It's down below 50. It's continuing to fall, according to iRacing's quality meter.
And 3 wide.
Matthew Robinson just dropped at the worst possible time with 26 to go at the line right here. To the outside comes the 0-2 of Jordan Martin. He's got help from Heimborn. Heimborn's going to cross in front of Cameron Hearn, and they're going to spin. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars now involved over here in turn 1. Oh my goodness.
And the big one strikes with 26 laps to go here at Talladega. I see the 83 of James Shanewolf is in it. The 54 Chris Seidefeiden's in it. And we're going to get a look here at the replay. Believe it definitely happened here with the 1 of Matthew Heimborn. We'll see exactly what happens here getting down into turn 1.
Say running it back right here. Heimborn pushed Jordan Martin out to the lead. And I think he thinks he's clear here of Cameron Hearn. And he's definitely not. Cameron Hearn still has the fender right there, as we see from the blimp view right here. So go frame by frame in slow-mo. You see, yeah, just a little bit of contact there from Cameron Hearn to the left rear of Matthew Heimborn. And that's just enough to upset that car right there. He's actually going to turn Heimborn down into the 34.
And Hearn tried to let out of it once he saw that one was coming down, but just no chance to do anything.
Absolutely.
Down and kind of
Dean Gagliano involved. He was an innocent bystander through this, and then it just happened in front of everybody. Ricky Springer just pile drives the one car. Who was that? Scioli ended up with the spun Hearn car on his nose, picking up Sieg and Seidenfaden. That hurt Samson a little bit there, Jacob Bell, because Scioli got hurt a little bit. He's been working with the Samson boys tonight. Seidenfaden in it. Garrett Grant, you saw that yellow car sneak through on the bottom. But not... Oh, there he is. There's the yellow car on our screen. That was Andrew Player ahead of him there. Ryan Swann going to get clipped here late. David Weishart barely avoiding that incident.
I don't know if there was too many more that really piled in after this point. A lot of it was just that initial impact of the one coming back up the track and getting pile drove, like you said there, from a few other
Shane Wolf right there was missing his rear bumper cover, so there was some incident toward the back of the field as well, trying to avoid this. Pit stops happening here under yellow. This is the final stop that these drivers need to make. It'll be interesting to see whether any drivers choose to try for some strategy and maybe some fuel or tires late. Some extra fuel or a fresh set of fuel goods. While we have a break in the action, I'd like to thank our third sponsor tonight of Bama Bash 223, and that is Sim Speed Shop. Special thank you to Sim Speed Shop for their support of the Sim Speed Shop Cup Series every Thursday night this season in area iRacing. Racers, you can visit their website, www.simspeedshop.com, to find all the items you need to complete your virtual racing setups. Button boxes, wheels, racing gear, and more for your sim rigs. Available at www.simspeedshop.com. Special thank you to Sim Speed Shop for their support here in the area iRacing leagues.
Very interesting up front. The top 7 electing to stay out. And Carroll with 27 laps since he's been on pit lane.
Yeah, I don't know if these guys maybe were just trying to stay out and avoid everybody coming down pit road that first time around, or what the plan was here.
Update. I just had an update on my telemetry, Harold. I'm not sure if it showed up for you yet. These drivers were on pit road the lap before the yellow flag flew. We didn't see it at the back of our picture, but Vern Hawkins, Forrest Smith, Gary Lewis, Nicholas Trader, the 92 of Carroll, thank you. Dustin Carroll, Drew Trader, Brian Dixon, all made stops 3 laps ago. So these drivers were on pit road at the perfect time. The other beneficiary somewhat of this is Matthew Robinson, because he had just dropped out and he got a yellow right after he dropped out.
And he was able to get back in. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. So he's actually only scored 2 laps down, Eric. I don't know if I've ever seen somebody disconnect under a green flag condition and be able to get back in only 2 laps down. That's actually a big break for Matthew Robinson.
And with this being the final stop, Jacob Bell, I'm sure sense of urgency is going to rise, and it would not be too hard for that 40 car to maybe get both those laps back down the stretch.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be impossible. The only issue he might have to deal with right now is the 34 of Dean Gagliano has scored 1 lap down, but he is still on pit road currently getting damage repaired, I believe. So, no, he's actually back out on track, but missing the front bumper on that race car. So, might not be good to go for Dean Gagliano. We'll see exactly what Robinson can do, but it'll be quite the story if he's able to overcome that.
Dean was the unfortunate one that got pitted on the inside after the contact from Hearn to the back of Heimborn.
Cleaning up, by the way, the EOL there for causing that caution went to the number 1 of Matthew Heimborn. So he has been the one deemed at fault for the incident. And also admins have asked to speak to him post-race in the hauler as well. So cleaning that up for us, and going to get set to restart here with 23 laps to go at Talladega. We're already doubled up. It's the 41 of Vern Hawkins, our race leader. Forrest Smith to his outside in the 84. Gary Lewis, Nick Trader, Drew Trader rounding out our top 5 for this restart.
So Jacob Bell, we saw two cautions in the ARCA race on Monday night, 3 cautions last night in the truck race. We're already sitting at 2 tonight in the Xfinity race. Have we seen our final yellow yet of the night?
I don't think so. And bold prediction, I think we see one with 5 to go. That seems to be the time in each one of these races where people think it's go time and they start trying to make their moves to the front, and the people up front want to stay there. So right around 5 to go, everybody gets pretty racy, and that's a lot of times when we see one of the final cautions.
Absolutely. We'll be keeping our eye on that. Getting you set for the restart here. 22 laps will be left on the board when we take the green flag. We got drivers with minimal damage, and then you've got Ricky Springer, who's missing his entire front clip there with the red back bumper that just came into our shot, calling out that he's going to be slow on the restart. Vern Hawkins in that 41 car, 10 on timing and scoring, is going to lead us back to the green flag right here. He's off and underway already, well ahead of Forrest Smith. And back under green here at Talladega.
Yeah, and it was a tricky restart. A lot of those guys who we saw getting that damage repair had to start single file at the back half of the field, and there was about 15 drivers that included in that list. So up front, though, Vern Hawkins with a great start, but it's going to be the 84 of Forrest Smith with a huge run out of turn 2. Look at that 84 car go to the front of the field with some help from his teammates, the Trader brothers, Drew Trader and Nick Trader.
For the first time all night, we see Justin Levine not really having any help, and he doesn't care. Up the middle comes the number 12. He's going to shuffle Jordan Martin out. Jordan Martin, who's helped push him to the lead on 2 different occasions tonight. Here comes Andrew Player in the 13. Tight in the middle there with the 25 of Trader. Excuse me, Drew Trader, not Nicholas Trader. 3 wide, off into 1.
And this pack noticeably smaller than the last time we were under green flag conditions. That wreck impacted a lot of these drivers significantly in terms of damage. So I see a 13 car, check that 14 car pack up front right now, and that's pretty much it as far as cars that are clean and good to go to the end. The number 38 of Shane Theron, the first driver I see outside of this pack, but man, they're 3 wide up front. Justin Levine giving a shot to Jordan Martin, and they're using the 3rd lane to try to get back to the front of the field.
To the top side comes the 0-2 with help from the 12. They've got a huge momentum shove down the front stretch here through the tri-oval to the lead. Potentially is going to be the 0-2 of Jordan Martin. Meanwhile, the push from the 56 of Nicholas Trader to the back of the 84 of Forrest Smith isn't going to do enough. New leader up front, Jordan Martin in the 0-2.
And that high side's looking good. Look at Levine, though. He's going to drop out of it and go to the middle lane and now down to the bottom lane. So Levine, exactly what he wanted to do. He pushed the 0-2 up to the front. And as soon as he saw an opportunity, he got right back down to the bottom and took back control of the lead. Right now, though, Matthew Robinson, Cameron Hearn tucked in line, still up top in that 3rd lane behind Jordan Martin. They're still 3 wide outside the top 2.
Jacob Bell did not take him very long. Justin Levine back to the lead.
No, that was an impressive statement, too, because he did it in quick order, like you mentioned, and he got through the middle, he used the top, and then he went right back down to the bottom.
Something we'll keep our eye on for the rest of this run is who's going to be able to challenge him. Forrest Smith giving a huge push to the 56 of Nicholas Trader here in the middle. Up top, here comes Cameron Hearn. Cameron Hearn is picking up someone, and he's just going to shove him all the way to the lead. Here comes the 40 of Matthew Robinson using the third lane up here on the top.
And I stand corrected. I saw only about 14 cars at first in this pack, but it looks like that second pack was able to actually gear up a run and catch right back up to them. So this pack now has grown to about 21 drivers, I believe. So a few of them lapped down or two, but nonetheless, the pack has grown, and we're seeing now the single file line on the bottom towards the back of this pack, with Shane Theron being the final car in 21st.
18 to go when they cross the stripe. Some of these guys, especially Shane Theron, not thinking it's go time just yet. Meanwhile, up front, the top side line has 4 now cars in it, led by the 84 of Forrest Smith, and big shove from the 02 of Jordan Martin, trying to get that 84 out front. Meanwhile, Trader was able to get a push from Forrest Smith to drop down in front of Justin Levine.
Seeing the One Mind to Design team with a lot of cars up front right now, which could be a factor in terms of this finish. Nick Trader in the 56, the 84 of Forrest Smith, the 41 of Vern Hawkins, the 25 of Drew Trader, the 69, the 92, all those drivers pretty much affiliated with the One Mind to Design team, and they're inside the top 10 right now with less than 20 to go. Ooh, Robinson with a dicey decision there to get behind Jordan Martin, who actually threw the block, and now Robinson's going to look low and try to leave out that 0-2, and he's going to do exactly that, this time with help from Hearn through the middle.
They're going to shuffle the best pusher and get him behind him again. And Jordan Martin falls.
I was going to say, look at Levine back down there.
He wasn't staying in the bottom lane very long, Jacob Bell.
No, and as soon as he saw a gap to get back up top and try to work his way to the front, Eric, one thing I'm looking at right now that I don't know if a lot of these drivers are realizing is that it seems to be if you want to get to the front, you can't do it on the bottom side of the track.
I just don't know if there's enough motor in the cars that are pushing on the bottom with being so in line. The temp's got to be up on all those drivers on the bottom line, right, Jacob?
Yeah, I think so. And just additionally, it seems like that middle lane gives you a lot more freedom to build up some momentum. And we see the 12 give a good shot to the 64 getting into turn 1. But watch the run down the back.
Oh, Cameron Hearn.
All the way up front.
I don't know if that was by design or if he got a little bit of help, but Hearn up out of line. Through the middle comes Ed Robertson with a push from Justin Levine, and he's going to drop to the bottom. Guess what? That puts Justin Levine, the leader of the middle lane, with help from the 0-2. I would not be surprised to see these two take the lead here by the time they reach turn 1.
Want to give a little bit of a credit to Jordan Martin tonight. He has done a heck of a job hanging with these guys up front. I don't think we've seen him leave the top 5, and you called it out, Eric. He might be one of the best pushers in this field tonight in that 0-2 car.
Side by side for the lead through 1 and 2. Just 15 laps to go. Robertson getting help from Robinson. Two different last names sound very similar, but they indeed are different. Ed getting a push from the youngster Matthew, keeping themselves in front of Justin Levine. They just don't have help on the top, Jacob.
Yeah, and key note, by the way, that 40 car of Matthew Robinson 2 laps down. So his goal right now is 1, to get into that lucky dog position, and 2, get the lap back the hard way so he can get kind of a 2 for 1 if a caution does come out. Right now, though, he's still scored 2 laps down as he's trapped behind the 64 of Ed Robertson, but he is in the lucky dog position.
I was going to say, cluing him in, he is the lucky dog, the first car 1 or more laps down, but the lead pack is catching very quickly. The 54 of Chris Seidenfaden, who was damaged in the previous incident. Also the 33 of Brian Dixon, half a lap down. But they're going to get by Seidenfaden here in just a few moments' time. To the outside goes Jordan Martin. He cannot push Justin Levine anymore. Now it's going to be on the nose of Cameron Hearn whether he can get up there and shove the 12 to the lead. Oh, contact in the back. Vern Hawkins gets into the side of the 55 of Adam Capps, and Capps saved it.
And that almost was disastrous. We saw how sharp the right turn was that Adam Capps had to take after that contact. Able to corral it in, almost caused a big wreck there in the middle of 3 and 4. Look at the move by Levine now. He's going to go to the outside of Robinson. Robinson left by himself in the middle.
And Cameron Hearn is choosing another driver to push to the lead. To the top side comes the 12 and the 15. But they're not making the headway that we've seen drivers on the top make. Robinson fighting back with Shane Wolf in the middle. 3 wide down the back straightaway.
And Matthew Robinson's going to get a good shove now from his buddy, James Shane Wolf, there in the 83. I think this might be by design. Shane Wolf said, I'm going to get up there. I'm going to help you try to get this lap back and set you up in better position to try to get back onto the lead lap by the end of this race. Because the 83, we saw him mired outside the top 20. All of a sudden, he's contending for the race lead.
If you take away Cameron Hearn, Jacob Bell, the top 10, excluding Cameron Hearn running there in 7th, have 0 wins this season. All these drivers looking for their first win of the season. Cameron Hearn looking for his 6th of 10 races so far in the 2021-22 Lodgebox Series season. A lot of drivers see this as their key and ticket to the playoffs right here.
Absolutely. And you see now Justin Levine, he's going to get the run on the top from Cameron Hearn and Levine.
And Hearn got hot. I think Cameron Hearn got hot right there and decided to pull out and show to Justin that he wasn't able to. But meanwhile, Justin said, thank you very much. He's clear for the lead once more, coming to 11 to go.
Robertson giving another massive shove to the 12 of Justin Levine. These two drivers have been hooked up a few times here tonight, and this time it's the 64 pushing the 12.
Action cooling just a little bit with 11 to go, but the outside line starting to find a few more drivers inside of it. Robinson and Shane Wolf now getting help. Here comes Ed Robertson. He's going to take to the middle. He said he wants the lead. Here comes the 64 with help from the 40. Can they finally relinquish Justin Levine from the lead and keep him trapped?
They're pushing hard right now. I would have my eyes peeled wide open if I was in the back half of this pack and see something brewing up front, because it's Ed Robertson with the aggressive push by Matthew Robinson trying to get him back to the race lead, and Robinson trying to get back to 1 lap down. I was going to mention real quick while we got a moment here, Eric, there's 2 drivers that this win would really mean a lot for, as it's pretty much their last hope for making the playoffs. One of them is the 34 of Dean Gagliano, who we saw involved in that last caution. The other being the number 13 of Andrew Player, who's mired 16th right now in this pack. Pretty much a last-ditch effort to try to get into the playoffs for both those drivers.
Samson Motorsports on the top side. They're going to make contact. Around goes to 69 of Trader. He got a little bit of help. No caution. It's all off the racetrack. They stay green, but Samson Motorsports, David Weishart pushing Garrett Grant. That run just was a little too much for Jordan Martin, and that caused that 02 car to get upset and hit the 69.
At the 69 of Gary Lewis, he went spinning down pit road, so no caution. The other driver involved, the 92 of Dustin Carroll. Pretty significant damage to the 92 car, but no yellow flag as we stated. We're going to stay green.
Thank you for correcting me there. I thought that was one of the Trader cars that went spinning off, but it was the 69 of Gary Lewis, and also the 92, as you mentioned, of Dustin Carroll.
Surprised that wasn't a bigger incident either, given that was coming out of turn 4, kind of in the middle of the pack. David Weishart, one of the guys you mentioned, he was in it, as well as the 02 of Jordan Martin. They both were able to save their race cars, and they're still in the top 10.
In trouble right here is a couple guys hanging off the back of that pack. Shane Theron, one of them that we talked about, as well as Kyle Sieg and Danny Ware, barely hanging on at the moment. Meanwhile, up front, Jason Martin's going to get shoved to the 3rd lane, and he's got no help. Through the middle comes Hearn, now Weishart, now Garrett Grant.
Keeping my eyes on Forrest Smith in that 84 car. He's done a heck of a job this last green flag run of staying in the mix as well. We only got 8 laps to go. When they hit the stripe, it's going to be 7 to go. And it's Ed Robertson peeking forward to the lead on the outside lane in that number 64 car for Samson Motorsports.
Alan Ballacchino getting by the O2 as well. That's your first few cars in the outside lane. Now Ballacchino's going to take Garrett Grant 3 wide. He's going to take Weishart 3 wide. Why not? He's coming up the middle. Here comes the 70 of Alan Ballacchino. Now he's going to get blocked by the 83 of Shane Wolf.
Ballacchino with a great effort to try to make himself some space, and he was able to do it successfully until he met to the back bumper of the 83 of James Shane Wolf. What that really did, though, was kill the run of that second lane. Now Forrest Smith is going to jump high and try to start to rebuild that run on the top side of the track. A lot of moving and shaking in this pack. And now Shane Wolf going to grab that top spot on the outside lane as Forrest Smith goes to the third lane, and they're trying to work their way around him. It's Shane Wolf in the second lane with help from Alan Ballacchino. Where did he come from?
You just highlighted the great effort that Forrest Smith was making, and now all of a sudden, with 6 to go, he's going the wrong way. Forrest Smith back to just about the tail end of this pack, 16th place from the top 5. Not the way you want to go with 6 to go. To the top side, here comes David Weishart and Cameron Hearn using the third lane outside of Ballacchino and Jordan Martin.
And you can just definitely tell the last 2-3 laps or so, the tensions have gotten turned all the way up to 100. Ballacchino with a good block to the top. He's going to shut off the run of David Weishart and Cameron Hearn. Hearn now going to go back down to the middle, and we're 3 wide for the race lead, and we're 3 wide, 5 rows deep.
Ballacchino with Weishart on his bumper. Shane Wolf with Martin in the middle. And on the bottom, Levine still hanging on with Trader in tow. These guys catching some lap traffic in front of them at probably the worst time. 5 laps to go. Now Martin to the top. The lap traffic yields. Most of the lap traffic yields. I think they still have one more car up here trying to use the top. And that's the 33 of Brian Dixon. This is going to get tight off of 2.
And they're going to have to squeeze around him. Gary Lewis got off the racetrack. Dixon goes all the way up to the wall, though. Good job on Brian Dixon, giving them as much room as possible. And they skirt around him 4 wide down the back straightaway. And the other lap car, the 54 there of Seidenbein, he also is going to give way on the apron. So they survived that. Give it a 4 wide move coming out of turn 2. But everybody makes it through unscathed with 5 laps to go at Talladega.
I'm going to call that my take 5 moment of the race because that's about as close to 5 wide as we got. We may have had an instance of it right there. So that candy bar definitely going to get eaten tonight.
We still got 5 laps to go.
Absolutely. Here comes 4 wide now. Jordan Martin going to the third lane, shoving Cameron Hearn to the 4th lane here at the tail of the pack. That shoves Hearn kind of out of the picture here inside of 5 to go. Now inside 4 to go. Justin Levine continues to lead. Shane Wolf not getting the push he needs from Forrest Smith.
One of the things I'm noticing is Shane Wolf actually has a big run on the top now for the first time. Oh, he got
Oh, he's getting a turn into the outside wall. They're going to spin the Forrest Smith machine with Vern Hawkins. They're still sideways. That round goes to 25 of Nicholas Trader, and the yellow will finally fly with that spin from the 25. Oh my goodness, Jacob Bell, how did we not collect more in that incident?
I don't know. They did a great job trying to save it. They did such a good job trying to save it that I think we only had a few cars go turned around, and that was it. I don't see any significant damage to the 25 of Drew Trader. He looked like he was one of the major components of that wreck. As we got the replay here presented by Wendigo Studios, it all started with the 84 of Forrest Smith and that bad bump to the 83 of James Shane Wolf here on the top.
Wendigo Studios providing us a great replay right here. Forrest just a little offset from the 83. Huge shove down the backstretch right here. He just got too far offset, Jacob, I think, and that just turned him, and then he got finished off by David Weishart there with how much the 84 machine had to check up.
And then you see, looked like there in the back end of that wreck, it was just Drew Trader who got clipped by the 41 of Vern Hawkins. But other than that, those 2 drivers going sliding, everybody in that pack was able to get around them 3 and 4 wide. They did an excellent job checking up, which really made the survival of that wreck a lot easier than it had to be for these guys. So good on them, but heck of a job, everybody missing this one. Just look at the save from Forrest Smith, by the way, in the 84 to keep that thing straight.
Scioli picking up some damage from Garrett Grant there. Man, Andrew Player barely snuck through there on the bottom side. And Barry, yes, as well in the 57. Pit road open here on our live picture. I don't think anyone's really choosing to make the stop except the 25 of Trader there, who's got damage to fix. And I believe we're going to get a natural green-white checkered right here, Jacobo.
Yeah, and what that also did, that caution kind of put the nail in the coffin for Matthew Robinson in the number 40 car. He was 2 laps down. We documented that they just caught the lap traffic before that yellow flag came out. So he is not going to get the lucky dog either for that matter. So he's pretty much trapped 2 laps down till the end of this thing. And we're going to get set up here with a green-white checkered at Talladega.
Yeah, iRacing basically just said we don't have it. This is overtime.
1 attempt at a green-white checkered here in the area iRacing leagues, and we're going to get it. I think this might be our first one of the season in the Lodgebox series. I'll have to go back and check my notes on that one, but I'm going to go ahead and call it our first attempt at a green-white checkered in the Lodgebox series coming up, and it's at probably the highest sense of urgency, not only in this race, but for the entire season. A ticket to the playoffs is on the line for a couple of these drivers.
Yeah, and like I said, the one driver in specific that this race really could turn their season around is the 13 of Andrew Player. I got a little bit of an interesting note here. It's kind of a stretch, Eric, but I'm going to see if we can go with it here. If you go to the 13 right now of Andrew Player, he is 12th right now on a green-white checkered. The winner in last night's Truck Series race, Ryan Swann, on the green-white checkered attempt, he also restarted 12th.
He might be in the catbird seat then, is the 13 of Player. We've shown you his in-sim picture with that VR headset. I just wonder how much he's sweating under those goggles, especially with the intensity that's about to happen here on this green-white checkered. You see him tapping his thumbs. He's just waiting, itching to get going once again. 2 to green right now. The light's still on the iRacing Mustang pace car. We saw a first-time winner 2 days ago with Caleb Steimer in the ARCA series, and a first-time winner last week in the truck, or not last week, yesterday in the truck series with Ryan Swann. We continue the trend right here, Jacob Bell, with a first-time winner in the Lodgebox series. Looking at this top 10, I see one winner. That's David Weishart in the number 2, who won our last time out at Pocono.
And we're also on a streak in this series of 4 different winners in the last 4 races as well. So a lot on the line tonight in terms of area history. But if you're an Andrew Player fan, you better hope right now that this green-white checkered goes similar to how it did last night. And he's the one who's able to get out front. 21 points outside the playoffs coming into tonight for the 13. It's a real last-ditch effort for him to make his ticket to the playoffs.
The lights are out on the iRacing Mustang pace car. Justin Levine choosing the bottom, thinking David Weishart's going to have the better push on this restart. So that's going to put Levine on the bottom with Weishart in tow. James Shanewolf, the 3rd in line on the bottom there, and then Forrest Smith in the 84 and Garrett Grant. A lot of the Samson drivers lined up on the bottom right here. On the top side, we've got the 56 of Nicholas Trader, the 70 of Alan Ballacino, the 7 of James Scioli, the 64 of Ed Robertson, and the 41 of Vern Hawkins, who was just involved in that incident. Got a little bit of damage on that right front, but I don't think that's going to deter that number 41 from trying to go for the win.
It's a green-white checkered at Talladega. Can't ask for much more than this. Again, thank you to everybody tuning in here live on our Twitch channel tonight. Got a lot of follows pouring in as well. So I appreciate everybody who's tuning in and sticking here with us tonight. Green or white checkered coming up, all the marbles on the line. And Eric, before the race, man, I told you, all you can really do, the most you can control is get yourself in position with 5 laps to go and a clean race car. And if you've got a shot to win, that's about all you can ask for at a track like Talladega. Right now, because of this green-white checkered, there's about 18 drivers who have that exact opportunity coming up.
20 drivers will restart on the lead lap. 18 with a realistic shot at the win in a clean enough car to try to make something happen. Just 3 races remain before the playoffs, including the finish coming up here tonight. And then a week after today, we'll go to Watkins Glen, and then one more at Charlotte before the playoffs start. So can Andrew Player in the 13 punch his ticket to the playoffs? Can another driver sneak a win and then get themselves in the top 20 to sneak into the playoffs? We're going to find out right now. Justin Levine, only one start in the Lodgebox series this season, but he's shown he's been the dominant driver today. He's going to fire us off for the restart. He's going to wait till he sees those green lights one more time. Green flag at Talladega.
And it's a great start for the 12 of Justin Levine. He's got David Weishart hooked up on the back bumper. The only problem is the outside lane is just as organized. It's the 56 of Nick Trader, the 70 of Alan Balancino, and James Scioli in the 7. 1, 2, 3 on the top. Who's going to prevail coming out of turn 2?
The big push from David Weishart to the back of Justin Levine. They are clear. Justin Levine is clear for the lead. They're swapping in sideways off turn 2. Down the backstretch goes the 41 of Vern Hawkins. Somehow he held onto it. To the outside comes the 56 of Trader with help from Balancino through turn 3. Coming toward the whites.
Next flag ends the race. If it's a yellow flag, if it's a white flag, we'll have to see if they can make it down this front straightaway with 2 to go here. It's Nicholas Trader continuing to lead the top. Garrett Grant's going to throw a block in that third lane on Jordan Martin. The white flag is in the hand of the flagman. 1 to go, presented by 1 to go Studios here at Talladega.
Cameron Hearn up the middle. Now he's going to jump in front of Garrett Grant for the third lane. No, back down to the middle with James Scioli. Weishart gets shoved onto the apron. A little bit of contact there from the 56 of Nicholas Trader. Alan Balancino doing all he can to push that 56. Meanwhile, the 2 shoving the 12 out front. To the third lane comes Cameron Hearn with help from the 57 of Jordan Berry. We're 4 wide into turn 3.
They seem to be pretty clean up front. Nick Trader's doing everything he can.
Oh, around goes the 57 of Jordan Berry. He's going to collect the 64 of Ed Robertson. That's at the back. They're not worried about it. Up front, David Weishart shoving Justin Levine out in front. Around goes the 83. Big spin. Around goes the 12. David Weishart collects Justin Levine. And through the tri-oval comes the 70 of Balancino. He spins with Cameron Hearn. And Alan Balancino is your winner tonight here at Talladega.
Wow.
I don't know if my voice has echoed through my room or my halls as much as it just did right there. What an exciting finish to the Bama Bash 223.
Coming to the finish line, through all the chaos we had there, we still had a photo finish at the stripe. 25 1,000ths of a second. Alan Balancino in the number 70 gets his first win of the Lodgebox series here on a chaotic last lap dash to the finish line. And he's blown up. I don't know if he's got enough power to do burnouts in this race car.
He and Cameron Hearn tangled at the start finish line. You saw Weishart get into Levine. That cost them the chance. And Hearn did everything he could. He just couldn't make it happen at the end. What a freaking finish. Between the 70 and the 15, Hearn almost snuck a 7th win or 6th win on the season right there. Balancino's got enough motor in it to try to make a burnout happen.
He's working through 3 and 4 right now on the live feed coming out here. He's going to try it. I don't know if I've ever seen a burnout with the front bumper hanging off. Not even there, actually, on the race car. But Balancino, in his 7th start of the season, I believe, finally gets his first victory coming to the Lodgebox series after just an absolutely crazy finish there at the end. And it's going to be the 70 of Alan Balancino who ends up in victory lane when it's all said and done.
What an effort there from the number 70. Put himself just barely in the right position down the stretch. We'll get a chance to speak with your top 3 with post-race interviews coming up here shortly on the Area iRacing Twitch channel. I believe they're actually getting started right now. We've got our winner, Alan Balancino. Jacob, I believe you're with him.
Yeah, Alan here in the number 70. You were able to hold off and survive that last lap mayhem to the finish and just barely nose out the number 15 of Cameron Hearn. Alan, how'd you do it, man?
I don't even know how I got there because I was having graphical issues the whole race and just tough race. I didn't start even attempting to go until like 5 or 10 to go. Puzzled. What? How'd they all wreck? What?
It looked like from my end, Eric here can maybe talk us through it a little bit better. I saw the 12 or the 2 of David Weishart. He tried to use that no yellow line rule to his advantage, and that's where it led to contact between him and the 12. And then you just used that outside lane to perfection, drove it all the way to the start finish line. And we thought for a moment there, Hearn might have stole it. He was coming quick in a hurry, but able to hold him off. Alan, man, first win of the season in your 7th start. I know you've been racing with a lot of the Go Slow racing folks with Connor O'Kresick and all those guys. What's this win mean for you?
Oh man, it means I don't have to worry about getting myself in the playoffs anymore. I can just coast into that and just have fun at Watkins Glen next week. So that's a positive. I'm just kind of like, what the heck just happened right there, though. So that's just kind of weird. Like everything just fell in my lap for once. That usually doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
We said, Alan, on our broadcast that it was going to be a wild finish. It was going to be a wild race coming down the stretch. And it absolutely proved that way. But did you really expect to see yourself in that position even before the yellow came out to trigger the green, white checkered? Because it seemed like we didn't call your name all too much tonight. You just kind of minded your own business toward the back.
No, I wasn't expecting to. I was expecting to be 15th or 20th tonight because I was dealing with just stuttering the whole night. I was not even expecting to be able to race, and I found the application that was causing it and closed it, and I was able to race, with no problem, smooth as silk after that. So I was actually able to race because I was dropping so many frames on the tri-oval, it wouldn't have been possible otherwise. So it was a race of adversity for sure.
Well, Alan, you pick up your first win in the Lodgebox series, and now toward the playoffs. But we got 2 more races in front of you there next week at Watkins Glen. How well do you think you're going to be versed on a road course, especially one as fast as Watkins Glen?
I think road courses are my specialty, so I think I'll run pretty good there. I do enjoy the new Watkins Glen quite a bit. It's a good racetrack, so I think I'll be just fine there.
Alrighty, well, before we let you get out of here tonight, Alan, anyone you'd like to thank for the run, who helps you get it done on that number 70 car week in and week out?
I'd like to give a thanks to Andrew Player, Kyle Sieg, Ricky Springer, Connor, and the guys at Nexus as well. So,
well, Alan, man, it's a pleasure watching you get it done. Congrats on the W. We'll see you next week at Watkins Glen.
Thanks, guys.
That was our race winner, Alan Balancino, in the number 70. And now to second place driver who almost stole one there at the very end coming to the stripe, Cameron Hearn. Cameron, you were one of the most aggressive guys all night long, using that third lane to your advantage, pushing these drivers to the front every chance you got. But at the end, it's 26 1,000ths of a second that separate you and Alan Balancino. How would you categorize your race here tonight at Talladega?
It was a lot of fun. You've seen a lot of races that maybe are single file and doesn't get antsy to maybe 5 or 10 laps, or their field gets spread out and it becomes a fuel mileage when the pit and the pack racing and stuff. And I kind of made up the decision, since I'm locked into the playoffs, to have some fun. And that's why we're all in here, have fun and just make moves and just have fun. And honestly, it almost worked out for me. I thought there was no way starting 16th with green, white checkered here that I'd have a chance, but I felt like coming off 4. Everybody that could have got out of my way did, except for Alan. But congrats to him on the win. A lot of fun. Awesome racing. I mean, there's 4 or 5 wide at times. I got caught up in a little bit of incident, got a little bit of damage, but I really don't think it affected the car at all. Just all in all, good night.
Cameron, we saw just how chaotic that finish was. How do you feel like you were able to place yourself where you needed to be? You said the C's parted. We watched you come up the middle 3-4 wide, especially through that final green, white checker.
Yeah, I made up, I'm not going to cause a wreck or anything, but I made it up that if somebody slows my minimum one line, if I can move somewhere else, I'm going to go there. And it kind of accordion affected, and it kind of picked it perfect. Kind of got a little bit of luck. And I don't know what I could have done differently to get Alan. Alan, we made contact coming down to the flag, but maybe if I could have made a little bit more contact a little bit sooner, might have been a different story. But a good win for him. Him locking him into the playoffs and stuff. So that's awesome to see. All in all, with this field side, and like we said, the racing was just awesome all night, and speaks volumes to the talent we have out here.
So you just missed out on win number 6 of the season. I know, an absurd number. This just being the 10th race of the season. So you already have won half the races so far. But this is the only type of track that you haven't won on. We don't get another chance at it this season. But Watkins Glen coming up next week. Cameron, how do you feel about your skills of turning left and right on such a high speed road course?
Yeah, I can lay down a good lap, but it's kind of keeping the tires on it there. I kind of struggle with that on road courses. Alan Elwood's real fast on road courses. And so, we're in Discord together, so maybe I can learn some things from him, what he's doing, brake bias, steering ratio and all that kind of stuff. But looking forward to it. Definitely going to put a little bit of practice into that one. Because there, I think repetition is huge. There's a lot of different turns where you can make up or lose a lot of speed. I'm glad this is the last restrictor plate race. I'm actually excited for a road course because I think it kind of keeps you on your seat and on your toes the whole race.
Alrighty, well, before we let you get out of here, Cameron, who helps you get it done on that number 15 car? I'm sure we've heard about it enough this season, but why not with some more?
I think Infinite Gaming, all the sponsors, in this league, Northern Capital, Lodgebox, Miller Racing Graphics, Swift Lifestyle, Some Speed Shop. Just want to give a shout out to the guys I shared the team speak with tonight. Alan had some tough luck. Danny Ware and Shane, just all in all, good team effort. And give a shout out to my dad watching. And we had a big crowd tonight. And I would love to see this many people come in week and week out. We had some new faces tonight, which is awesome to see this late into the season. I just hope, we keep it up, go into the playoffs, good momentum. And I'm excited for next week.
Alrighty, well, that was our second place finisher tonight, Cameron Hearn, joining us after such a great run and just placing himself in the right spot at the right time. Just 25 one-thousandths of a second short of a 6th victory this season. Get a chance to catch up with our third place finisher now, Jordan Martin. Jordan, you found yourself in a perfect spot coming to the checkered. David Weishart trying to take advantage of the ability to pass below the yellow line, no yellow line rule in the area iRacing leagues, and his contact with Justin Levine saw you promoted to third. How were you able to place yourself there at the end with so much chaos happening around you?
So that was just all luck. I restarted 13th, and I was behind, who was it? I think it was Garrett, and he was going slow through the turns. I was just trying to get up there, and then I just went down to the middle, followed all the way up to the front. They started wrecking.
So we saw, Jordan, that you were probably, I would crown you the best pusher all night long. Just couldn't find someone there at the end to get on your front bumper, or was it all about just making the run toward the checkered flag?
There was one part I was yelling, or I was upset with myself trying to push. But other than that, I really had the 40 car push me up to the front. On the front, I was trying to stay around him. He ended up going a lap down, I think.
Well, you saw just how well you could work with other guys out there this evening, but no more super speedway tracks on the schedule. We got Watkins Glen coming up next week, and we're going to see you come out for another Lodgebox series start.
I'll be out there, but I'll probably be in the back. I'm terrible at road courses.
Alrighty, well, before we let you get out of here, Jordan, tell us who helps you get it done week in and week out on that number 02 car.
Just the TSV Motorsports team, all my friends helping me out, giving me all the confidence I need for these races.
Alrighty, well, shout out to Jordan Martin's friends, and what a drive for the 02 here in the Lodgebox series, coming home third tonight in the Bama Bash 223. Jacob Bell, what a wild finish right there. We get to go through our final results here for the Bama Bash 223. Alan Ballacino, your winner by officially 26 one-thousandths of a second, tying last night's finish, I believe, with Ryan Swann as a winner. Last night, Alan Ballacino, your winner tonight over Cameron Hearn. Jordan Martin is able to come home in third. Danny Ware from quietly at the back to fourth. Garrett Grant able to slide home in fifth. And then the tango, if you will, of David Weishart and Justin Levine, sixth and seventh. as they spun through the infield grass in the trioval. Adam Capps, what a night for the 55. Damage early, able to rebound to an 8th place finish. What a great run for that 55. Andrew Player home in 9th. And also Jordan Berry rounding out your top 10.
11th place finisher tonight, Brian Dixon in the number 33. Vern Hawkins comes home 12th. Shane Theron with a solid 13th place finish. I believe that should lock him into the playoffs going forward without a win. So impressive season for that 38 team. Drew Trader is going to come home 14th. Kyle Sieg, 15th place finish. Nicholas Trader, 16th. Forrest Smith in the number 84 is going to come home 17th. Ed Robertson, Gary Lewis, and James Shanewolf in the 83 round out our top 20 finishers. Here on back was where the chaos really started, with James Scioli in the number 21 car involved in a late race wreck. Matthew Robinson coming home 22nd. Dustin Carroll, Chris Seidefeiden, Ryan Swann, a lot of those guys all tangled up in the big one with about 20 laps to go. Ricky Springer brings it home 26th. Dean Gagliano 27th. Matthew Highmore in 28th. Alan Elwood finishes a disappointing 29th. And Jaden Capps with a 30th place finish tonight. And I believe our last finisher was Nate Stewart, and Gary Wells did not start tonight in that number 11 car.
And Nate, unfortunately, having that motor expire very early on in the race tonight, not good for the driver of the 88. Your Elwood Designs race recap. Alan Ballacino leads only 1 lap en route to victory, and that was the one that counted there. Coming to the checkered. 3 cautions for 9 laps, exactly what we had last night in the truck series. Not exactly the same times in the race, but they did not have multiple yellows. I think I can hold that one over Jacob Bell. 32 drivers made starts tonight. James Scioli was the man who went the fastest, 49.858 here at Talladega. Well over 190 miles per hour. Jacob Bell, closing thoughts on an exciting Talladega. 2 races remain before the playoffs.
Man, I think just wild finish for the 3rd night in a row. Really just seems to be the trend at Talladega, no matter where you're at, no matter what series, what league it is. When you go to Talladega or Daytona, you're going to have some wild finishes at the end with an unexpected winner. I don't know if anybody had Ballacino winning by the time we were coming through that white flag lap, but when it was all said and done, he was able to put the nose out in front and get it done. So I expect tomorrow night to see a lot of interesting strategy going into the 3-stop race or the 2-stop race, and then just a crazy finish at the end.
Absolutely. Harold Darner, you were able to stick it out with us a little under the weather. We appreciate you producing these great images here on One to Go Studios at the area iRacing Twitch channel. What was so different about tonight that we might not see yet again in the Cup Series?
I think we're going to see more of the same tomorrow night, with probably pushing 4 wide. You might get that take 5 out tomorrow night as well, but you'll actually be in the seats, so we'll chalk that out. But
absolutely.
Yeah, these guys definitely were this last we were talking about it. I picked Danny Weir. He actually got all the way up to 4th from like 16th on the restart. So, but we were talking about it before the race. Me and Jake were talking that my picks this week have found their way to find them into the wrecks. I had Jake last night and DeLeo earlier in the week. But it should be some more of the same. And Talladega definitely proving to be the super speedway it is, and lives up to the expectation that you got to be there to watch the last few laps. Probably see you out there tomorrow night with the other guys. Maybe try to see if you can get any closer to that ultra fast. The closest finish we had was yours, so we'll see if we can beat that.
I don't want to beat that iconic Auto Club finish from earlier in the year. If you want to check that out, by the way, make sure you go check out the Area iRacing Twitter to see some of the clips from the season thus far. Some great ones, including that iconic photo finish that Harold is alluding to that we had at Auto Club between yours truly and also my partner here in the booth, Jacob Bell, and Cameron Hearn, who just missed winning tonight there by 26 1/1000ths of a second. Fans, be sure to check out and hit the follow button here on the Area iRacing Twitch channel. Races Monday through Thursday night. Only the off weeks we only had for the break for the holiday season. And finally over. Talladega straight through to our championship race at Phoenix, happening the rest of the way. Make sure to tune in next week, next Wednesday night here at 8:45 p.m. for coverage from Watkins Glen in the sim. The Lodgebox series will make its second road course start of the season. Of course, be sure to check out tomorrow night's race here at 8:45 p.m. as well. The Sim Speed Shop Cup Series caps off Talladega week with, I believe it's 90 laps around this 2.66 mile track. I could be wrong on that. I'll let Jacob Bell correct me later. But for Harold Darner and Want to Go Studios, for Jacob Bell, I'm Eric Wineland saying thank you all for tuning in tonight. Make sure you go check out the recent broadcast to see all of the Talladega action this week and get yourself prepped for tomorrow night, like I said, at 8:45 p.m. here on the Area iRacing Twitch channel. Be safe, be healthy out there. We hope you've had a great holiday, and we are glad to be back here in the booth. Good night. Until tomorrow.
What an exciting race brought to you by Want to Go Studios. Here they come out of turn 4 to the white flag, and it's 1 to go. Thank you to all our sponsors, drivers, and viewers. We'll see you at the next turn.